co-host Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history, and let's get to work this morning. We're just about to engage an entire morning with discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We have an absolutely jam-packed show for you. The ladies on The View talking about how Kamala Harris isn't pulling in the male voters. Kamala looking at maybe a Joe Rogan interview. Are men not voting for Kamala Harris because she's a woman? Because she's a black woman? Or is she just a bad candidate? We'll dive into that in the 7 o'clock hour. The rural broadband debacle that's been taking place with Kamala Harris, her leadership there, and Elon Musk and what the FCC did with Starlink. We're going to dive into that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Jared Polis called the cops on Danielle Jurinsky. You'll never believe why. Unbelievable. A whole lot to cover today. But let's check in first on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. Can't wait to hear all of those stories, Jeff.
Is that why you're not voting for Kamala Harris? Because she's a woman?
Absolutely not. As long as you're conservative and you're strong and you're intelligent and you love America and you're a patriot, I don't care if you're a man or a woman.
I was thinking about this yesterday. Who like in the lineup right now could be the first woman president? Man. Like on the conservative side.
Yeah, I think about that a lot also.
Tulsi Gabbard, I think, would do pretty well.
I do. I think she would do great.
The military experience, she's not quite there on the life issue, but she's not terrible either. She's opposed to a lot of the late-term stuff. And so I think I want like a Margaret Thatcher, man. I want the Iron Lady.
Who's the not that she's a politician, but what's her name? Habala, the attorney for Trump.
She's cool. Yeah.
Every time she shows up, I'm not saying she would run or would be a great leader. I have no idea, but she's outstanding, man, on camera, and her communication, her intelligence, sharp.
There are some smart, tough, conservative women out there.
No doubt.
That's who I'd like to see become the first woman president in this country.
I love the fighters. Harris. I love those women who are fighters. Everybody with MTG, the left hates her. So I love her.
Yeah. I mean, did you see that? I think Trish Calavarse is her name, but the Democrat opponent to Lauren Boebert has outraced her like 5 times or 3 times or something like that.
Incredible.
When you're a fighter,
it's
like you take a bat to a hornet's nest with the libs, and they just can't stand it.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean, what a waste of money. You think you're going to beat Lauren Boebert in CD4?
God, isn't that the truth? What a waste of money is right. Man, where's that money coming from? 43 and clear. Good to talk to you, Jeff and Billy. It's clear outside and 43 in Denver. Expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story last night, South Metro fire rescue crews responded to a home in Arapahoe County for a hazmat investigation after residents found a small container on their porch, which later exploded when they opened it. They reported 3 occupants had been transported to a local hospital for further medical evaluation. They're testing the white powder that exploded after they brought it into the house. The investigation underway. Pilots for Frontier have voted in favor of holding a strike if they can't get a favorable contract from the company. The union representing the pilots announced Tuesday that 97% of its membership took part in the strike authorization vote, with 99% of those pilots authorizing the strike. The Denver-based airline said a strike is not imminent and that negotiations with the pilots are ongoing. Frontier's flight attendants are also negotiating a new contract and voted last month to authorize a strike. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson is in Mexico City this week for an international gathering. The Bloomberg City Lab gives government officials and other experts a chance to talk about local efforts to address international concerns. The Bloomberg organization picked up the travel cost to have Johnston and other Denver officials attend the event. Johnston was scheduled to discuss immigration with the mayor of Guatemala City during the conference. Here's all they need to discuss. We're going to shut down the border and try to vet every single person again. Hopefully one day soon. That's all they need to talk about. DJT talking truth to Bloomberg on Tuesday.
This is the party, the Republican Party, of common sense. Forget about conservative, liberal. We're, let's say conservative, but we're really a party of, we need borders, we need fair elections, we don't want men playing in women's sports, we don't want transgender operations without parental consent. You know, there's so many things, but it's 99.9% is common sense. It really is common sense. And I like to say it. I don't know if anyone said it in the past, but I say we're really a party of common sense.
Georgia has set a new record for early voting. The chief deputy for Georgia's Secretary of State says more than 300,000 people showed up to cast ballots on the first day of early voting Tuesday. Former President Trump spoke to a packed house of supporters in Atlanta. Meanwhile, Kamala Khan once again will sit down for an exclusive interview with Fox News later today, taking questions from Brett Baer. It's set to air at 4 o'clock this afternoon from Pennsylvania, a key battleground state. Jeff and Billy have been talking about tariffs on Tuesday. They did yesterday. I love this. Hey, if we can make it, tariff it. If we don't make it, don't tariff it. Howard Lutnick, Canton Fitzgerald CEO.
You go to Europe, you can't sell a Ford or GM. Why? There's 100% tariffs. How about in Japan? 100% tariffs. So do you think if we said, we're going to tariff you the way you tariff us, do you think they're going to allow Mercedes and all these Japanese companies and Porsches and BMWs to all of a sudden have 100% tariffs in America? Of course not. They're going to come and negotiate, and their tariffs are going to come down. And finally, Ford and General Motors are going to be able to sell in these places.
How's that sound?
Of course they're going to come down. Of course. This is just negotiating.
Love it. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 39 in Boulder, 42 in Littleton, 43 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is, what is it? Oh, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Unseasonably warm for a couple more days, and you're going to notice the weather changing as we head into Friday and the weekend. Mid to upper 70s today, near 50 tonight, highs low to mid 70s tomorrow. Sunny to partly sunny today, a few more clouds on Thursday, also becoming a bit more breezy. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 60s and falling. Showers will be likely late Friday, Friday night into Saturday, and colder. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill, up on Fox, they just had a picture of the power rankings for our...
Oh, I thought you were saying Power Rangers. I'm like, what?
Power Rangers. Power rankings.
Anyway, what?
On their projections, and they had Colorado as solid Democrat.
Yeah, we are.
What happened to you guys? You just grew up in this state. I was talking to my kids about this yesterday, and Bush 04 was the last time we voted for a Republican.
Yeah. I remember when the state was solid Republican. That's
Bill
when I grew
Owens, George W. Bush.
Yeah, because I've got a few more years on you. Yeah, I've got a few more years on you when it was really solid red. And I was here when it was really.
Remember when
really
Focus
red.
on the Family was the powerhouse of Colorado Springs, and
even before that existed, I was there. I remember the early Reagan years here.
Yeah,
I remember late Carter, early Reagan. Yeah, that was solid red here. Yep.
I know you and I weren't talking about this, but it's just a question I got for you. It's a question we talk about within the family.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take to swing back? Do you think it'll ever swing back?
Ooh. Depends. I think if you started game planning now, I think it's going to take, soon. The soonest would be 15 years, I think. The soonest. I think it's going to take more like 2 generations, but I think it also would have to take I don't know how to put this, but there would have to be more self-reflection by the GOP, especially the GOP in Colorado. I think that
Civil war doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And also, I think that the Colorado GOP, and in some cases elsewhere in the country, and the Democrats have found this out, but more about meeting the electorate where they are rather than demanding the electorate follow them. And I think that was part of what happened with the shift in the state, that the Democrats came and met the electorate where they were, and then led them in a new direction and said, once we did this, then they started the expansion of powers once they had that. And I think that's the message that the Colorado GOP should probably take to heart, that figure out where the electorate is and meet them there, and then start with some conservative policies rather than saying, here are our policies here. Whether you agree or disagree with us, it doesn't matter.
To be John the Baptist.
Oh, absolutely.
A voice crying out in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's what we heard during the during some of the Senate races, that certain people weren't pure enough in certain aspects, especially with abortion and election stealing and stuff like that. That if we could just run more pure candidates, then the people would come to their senses and vote for them. And I disagree. I have a feeling that if the electorate is telling you that this is where they are, you need to meet them there rather than demanding they come over and join you.
I'm a big believer in reading 2 books to help guide your life.
Oh, okay.
You can read a lot more, but at least read these 2.
Like, help me too. And after that,
and I feel like the Republican Party has forgotten to read one of them.
Small library.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of library.
It's a shelf. Yes.
Get to that in
We're
a second.
getting there. Yes. See, you set that up.
You should read the Bible, and you should read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Which the Republican Party in Colorado, I think, is generally
it's
not read.
And I think that's a really good one because I think it shines a light on interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
And that idea about how to navigate interpersonal relationships. Because even now you'll experience it as your kids get into more of the teenage years. The way that teenagers interact with each other and how their social groups and how a change in the social group can mean an upheaval in their world and what that means.
Totally.
Yeah, it's crazy at times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I believe that. Well, speaking of the library,
yes,
Bill, I decided to go to the lovely Douglas County Library yesterday.
Nice.
To do my show prep. So drop one of my sons off from 3 to 8. I'm an Uber driver.
Yeah, you are.
I'm got kids everywhere in sports, and we have one child in basketball, one child in football, one child in soccer, and one child in theater.
That's a busy
and
one.
I get to do all of it along with my wife. And so it's like a military operation. But anyways, I will typically drop a child off at play or at sports activities, and then I go to the library to do my show prep. So I'm sitting in the Douglas County Library, and I'm reading articles, diving into the Starlink thing and the FCC and Elon Musk and Biden, and it's Biden targeting Musk and all that. We're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I decide to meander around the Douglas County Library into the I'm on the lower level, and that's where the children's books are. And there's a children's biography section. And what
nice.
catches my eye is right prominent there in the child's biography section is Kamala Harris. Rooted in justice.
Yeah.
And it's, it's not like on the shelf, it's pulled to the side so everybody could see it. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's a display book, so it's not on the shelf. Yeah, it's set up and it faces forward. It's the idea of when you're walking through the stores, they have those display shirts. The shirts that sit out there, and the same thing. It's like window shopping. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and so it's on display. Kamala Harris, rooted in justice. Okay, so I wander over there to look. Right next to that, Stacey Abrams and the fight to vote. So I'm like, oh wow, we're going on a little Democrat promotion wing here. Right below that, Fighting with Love, the legacy of John Lewis, Democrat lawmaker.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know about the books. I didn't read the books. I think it's fine if the Douglas County Library wants to showcase a few different books. Another one, We're Better Than This, Young Readers Edition, My Fight for the Future of Democracy by Elijah Cummings, also another Democrat. So then I start to peer around, and I'm like, I wonder which Republicans, the good people of the Douglas County Library, are promoting as well. Look to my left, none there. Look to my right, none there. Walk around, can't find any. I found one, though. I found one Republican that they were promoting. It was on the bottom shelf on the back, and it was Teddy Roosevelt, the great conservationist. By the way, we got Teddy up back here.
Yeah,
I love TD.
Yeah.
TDR. TR.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh my God.
He was promoted, but on the back side of the display in the bottom.
Oh, geez.
So then I looked through all of the children's books to see, well, maybe they offer a biography on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It is election time. We're promoting Kamala Harris. Maybe there's just on the actual bookshelf there, maybe not as promoted, some children's biography about Donald Trump. No. I did look, and there was 2 on Reagan, but it was in the back. But the Douglas County Library, man, prominently displaying Democrat leaders in the biography section for kids to read in this election season when everybody's thinking about it, and no DJT. So I texted some of the county commissioners.
That's funny. And again, I don't know how it was put together. Again, it's weird that kids don't vote. And it's weird that they put the Kamala one up. That's the one that I would look at and say, if you're gonna play politics, or if they're in politics,
that's the one, not Stacey Abrams.
No, and here's the reason why and this is what I would look at is if I was going to critique the person that put up the display, and I'm assuming that someone was given purview, not directed, not here are the list of books you are going to display. I'm certain that someone was
guarantee you it was the librarian employee with the green hair.
Whoever it is. Yeah. So whatever it is, it's like, okay, here's the librarian, and they're going to get doing it. And what I would ask is, one of the people that you have being displayed is currently running for president of the United States. Unless you put up a book that shows the other person running for the president of the United States, we probably shouldn't display that book. And so as what I would have told the person doing the display is, put up people that are not running for office right now, because that doesn't look like you then are playing politics with, at least with choices. But I understand your choice on the Democrat side of it. But I look at it and go, for me, the one that looks at it is the Kamala one. I'm like, ooh, that if you don't have a competing Republican up there, especially a Trump book, that to me is a step too far. That because it is an active campaign. Stacey's not running for anything.
That's the one that
John
got me.
Dead.
All right, look, Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
First woman of color, major party ticket. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Elijah Cummings, lifetime of service in Congress. John Lewis, lifetime of service in Congress. Marched with MLK, got beat. Okay. Stacey Abrams, Stacey Abrams were put up there. That's when I was like, all right, we're pushing an agenda on the kids in the Douglas County Library. But I'm also reflecting on how if it was my choice, like where's the Rand Pauls, the Ron Pauls, the Thomas Masseys, the Clarence Thomases? How about any of those great figures that are shaping the conservative worldview? No, the Douglas County Library is going to put Stacey Abrams up there. I can't tell you anything Stacey Abrams has done.
Yeah, to me, it's the Kamala one. The Stacey Abrams, there are all sorts of minor people that have biographies. It's like, okay, whatever. So the Stacey one doesn't. For me, it's the idea of the active campaign. I think that is a little bit untoward, only because, again, active campaign, and you have parents
We're
there.
like 3 weeks from, everybody's talking about it. You remember you did all the little mock things in class, the mock votes.
And at least, and the idea being that if there are any conversations that parents would have in that group or in that children's section, the one that is there that's a current politician that's running for something, that's national is Kamala. So there should have been something else there. And if you can't have a Trump book up there, then you'll put the Kamala book up. That's kind of how I would have looked at it that way. Stacey Abrams, I think, is just whatever.
I don't know what she has accomplished to earn prominent display in the Douglas County Library. Now, Eric Metaxas wrote a book on Trump. What was it? Donald Drains the Swamp. Do you remember this one?
No, I don't. No. But he didn't do it. He didn't drain the swamp, though. That's the problem. That's what he complains about now.
Partially. He tried. It's a deep swamp. But anyways, it's Donald Trump. He's dressed like a caveman.
Yeah.
And he's got a big club. His little caveman thing is red, white, and blue. But no books. No
isn't Mike
children's
Huckabee
books.
selling a whole bunch of Trump books, I think, for kids?
Is he?
Oh, yeah. But
Huckabee's
he's showing books for kids about Trump. But here's the thing, though, is and again, whether or not you like the books or not, the issue is it's an automatic recurring scam thing where you sign up to get the free package of books and stuff, but you have to put in a card. Yeah, you have to put in your credit card, and then every month they send you stuff and they charge you for it, and they make it really difficult to cancel. Again, not new. Anybody that remembers Columbia and their music club, anybody remembers that?
Yeah.
You know exactly how hard that is. A penny, my butt. Yeah, right.
So I texted the county commissioners and friends that were formerly on the library board yesterday, and one responded, I won't give you his name. He's just like, I'm so tired of this crap.
Oh, that's
funny. Mean, it's like, it's clearly agenda driven. You can't look at that and be like, I'm just sitting back watching the kids' Douglas County Library section for biographies, and the only people on display are Democrats: Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, John Lewis, Elijah Cummings. And he just texted back, he's like, these libs that run these libraries. He was in all the battles over book banning and stuff like that. I'm not asking for any of these books to be banned, but goodness gracious, it's so prominent when you look at it. Anyways, if you want to go to my X account, x.com, Jeff Hunt, you can see it.
This is why you're probably better in most public situations than I am many times, because
you would have asked about it.
No, I would have changed the book. Ask nothing.
Right.
No.
All Reagan.
Yeah. Have you met me? Rules.
There you go.
Rules
Billy.
are merely suggestions at times. And so at least two of those books, I would have changed them out, especially if I could find the Reagan book. Absolutely. I would have taken the Stacey Abrams one and put the Reagan. Absolutely. I would have done that. I would have just done it just because. I mean, I think obviously I'm just going to change these and just see what happens. Just to see what happens, because how long would it take until whoever did the display noticed that it was changed? How long? Yeah.
And I wonder too if somebody had already done that.
Yeah.
That crossed my mind.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Maybe the librarians have nothing to do with it. There's a battle.
Yeah, there's some sort of
taking place in the children's biography section of
keep
Douglas
moving the
County
thing
Library.
back and forth. Yes.
Going back and forth. Anyways,
That's
you
funny.
can see the pictures, x.com/Jeff.
And I think you make a really good point about the lack of a filter of whoever's involved in the process, because again, I would firmly believe that this is one person who is tasked with setting it up, and they just set it up how they felt it should be set up. but then whoever the manager is or the supervisor didn't come back to double check and just look at what the display says to the rest of the community. Because we've seen this over and over again, where people go, "Oh my gosh, do you see these books are on display here in this store? They're in this this part of the library." All sorts of things like that. So yeah,
are we advocating for DEI in the library for conservative perspective?
Well, this is the thing, is this is why I don't think that DEI necessarily is an evil. I know that it is seen as an evil, but for this, if you look at this display, I would believe that diversity inside the display is necessary, and that would be a diversity of political viewpoints and the inclusion of all political
diversity
viewpoints.
of maybe somebody else with a different skin color,
Yes.
because they got all one skin color.
I was going to
listed
mention
there.
that too, and when you talk about the Stacey Abrams, that's the one that pops. That I'm like, is Stacey there because of her race, not because of the book? Because I can make a stronger argument is, for the other three. I disagree with the Kamala one being up there, but you're right. The Stacey Abrams is the odd one out, like on Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. She doesn't necessarily have that same type of national or even long-term political political history behind her. So I'm wondering if she is that inclusion as far as, all of them had to be, Black Democrats at that point. So that's the one that I have a question for. And that, honestly, that would be the one book I would have changed too. That would have been the one I'm going after. I would have found the Reagan book and put the Reagan book there. just because
Stacey
of impact.
Abrams and the fight to vote.
Well, and the thing for me is just the impact, the basic impact of what some of these other political leaders have there. Even the Teddy Roosevelt book should be there in the display in front of, instead of Stacey Abrams, as far as the prominence where you talk about it. And that's the idea. And again, here's an idea where diversity, equity, inclusion, it is actually a decent thing, I believe, because again, we're not, involving people that are getting paid to, run companies for $600,000 a year on a, postcard that they got in the mail because it's now said they're an expert. So now I'm just talking about the idea of just looking at what the consumer needs and what the audience needs inside the Douglas County Library. I don't think that they're all going to go in there looking for Democrat biographies for the kids. I just don't think so.
Stacey Abrams' biggest accomplishment, according to Rob in Tennessee, was giving Hillary some of the questions before the debate with Trump. Was that her?
No, I thought it was Donna Brazile.
I think that was Donna.
I think it's Donna Brazile. Yeah, I think she's the one, and she ends up on Fox, which is really weird.
Donna
really
does?
Weird. Yeah.
Or Stacey.
No, Donna Brazile.
Donna.
Yeah, she's a commentator. She's a commenter on Fox. Yeah. Which is really, but then Michael Steele's over at MSNBC. So dogs and cats living together.
Let's do this. Let's unleash the power of the listeners of 710 KNUS in the 6 o'clock hour. Feel free to maybe, only if it's legal, adjust some of the displays at the local library to feature prominent Republicans 3 weeks out from the election.
And this is all on you. This is your choice. We're just saying it's an option. We're not advocating. We're just letting you know that there are choices. And you can make whatever individual choice you wish and you feel necessary at that moment, as long as it's very quiet and non-confrontational. Is it illegal to swap out one of the prominent displayed books with another book? Oh,
is that a violation of the library code of conduct?
My guess is not while anybody's watching. They probably have to catch you doing it in order for it to be anything wrong. Until then, I think you're pretty good. That's
how
normally the rule in life.
is.
Yes, exactly. That's normally the rule in life. So I think we can follow that here.
So if you find yourself, especially in a more progressive area, swapping out a Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
What was the? And again, what was the book? The title of that one, Rooted in Injustice.
Yeah. But again, and the thing is, if you're going to do this, don't make a big deal about it. The quieter you are and the more undercover you are, the better it is. Because as soon as you make an issue out of it, then it becomes an issue, and either the display gets taken down or there's going to be consequences.
Jeff and Billy get in trouble.
Yeah, but if you just switch them out, I don't see necessarily the bad thing at that point. And again, if you're not doing it based on, if you're not, causing any damage to the books or anything else, and if you're doing it quietly, you're over there browsing, and you just, I've got this Reagan book in my hand, and now I've got the Stacey Abrams book in my hand, and I put the Reagan book down on the thing there, and then I put the Stacey Abrams thing back into the shelf. You got confused.
Would it be if someone's
simply got
led
confused
out of the library in handcuffs? What happened?
Yeah,
I replaced the Stacey Abrams book with Ronald Reagan.
With the Reagan book. Yeah.
Or Trump Builds the Wall by
again,
Eric Metaxas.
Again, though, you can easily get confused. You had both of them in your hands, and you forgot which one is on display and which one goes into the shelf. It happens, especially as we age. We have those problems sometimes, and you get flighty, so it's okay. It's understandable. Just don't make a big scene, because as soon as you make a big scene, then there are going to be something's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. The quieter and the
Bill,
more
I feel like
unobscurity
you
you
and
can,
I
you're
have
better off.
tapped into our middle school.
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah.
But you know what would happen in middle school?
Yeah, what?
We would have replaced the books with things that are totally
absolutely.
inappropriate.
Oh, completely. I am not above going through the hobby store sometimes when my wife's wandering around and the letters and rearranging the letters so they spell things. I'm not above that. You leave me alone in the store for a while, things can go really wrong. I'm just saying I should not be left unattended for a long period of time.
Iggy wants a conservative book fair, and we drop them all off at the library. Not bad. Let's flood these libraries with conservative books.
The problem is they'll just donate them to somewhere else. Let's take them right in the front door.
America's
right
children can't read those conservative books. All right. If you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, and it is going to turn starting Friday afternoon. Saturday, it's going to be cold and rainy. Sunday, partly cloudy, but with all the hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, Colorado has got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and know how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663 or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. That's 303-797-7663 or roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. Phone lines are open. Give us a call at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. A judge in Georgia has ruled that even if county election officials suspect there has been voter fraud or even mistakes, they have to certify the results by the legal deadline. Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney of Fulton County ruled that no election officials, board members, or anyone else can refuse to certify the election results or abstain from certifying them under any circumstance. In his ruling, McBurney said that county election officials are not given authority under the law to determine voter fraud has occurred or what should be done about it if it does. Elon Musk's new PAC has been hitting the battleground states to turn out voters for President Donald Trump. America PAC has been hiring canvassers and knocking on doors in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania with just 3 weeks to go before the election in an effort to boost voter turnout. According to the filings from the Federal Election Commission, America PAC has spent nearly $90 million on the presidential race, with about 60% of that dedicated to field operations. The PAC is also focusing on direct mail and getting Trump supporters to vote early. Democrats are hoping a history of split-ticket voting in Arizona means their Senate candidate, Ruben Gallegos, will beat out Republican Kari Lake, even if Donald Trump captures the state's presidential vote. A Venezuelan gang member who police say was recruiting middle school kids in Houston has been arrested by Texas troopers. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So, Billy, yesterday, doing show prep, hanging out in the Douglas County Library, and I wander over towards I was just wandering around, but I glance over towards the kids' biography section because what catches my eye, Kamala Harris rooted in justice in prominent display. I then look around and I see Stacey Abrams and the fight to vote, John Lewis fighting with love, all on prominent display, and Elijah Cummings. So then I'm like, well, is there a Donald Trump book? Maybe it's on display in a different section.
Maybe.
Wander around. No DJT. Not even.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
You had to throw it in there.
Just because I had to. I couldn't help myself.
I go even look at, like, not even on display, just like on the shelf in the kids' biography section. No Donald Trump. So here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
Do we expect public libraries accepting tax dollars to be balanced and fair in what they promote? Or if the county's progressive or conservative, do they have the right to go, hey, we've been elected by people, we get to choose the books? And if you're in conservative Elbert County, for instance, who they don't even run Democrats. My ballot was so easy to fill out because there was like literally one choice for county commissioner because they don't even run Democrats out there. Can they go, we're a conservative county. We get to pick. And we don't want your liberal godlessness books in our library. Or can the progressives in Denver go, you Christian conservatives are a bunch of bigots. We don't want your racist bigot books in our library. We get to choose. Do they have to balance it out, or do they get to pick and choose?
Yeah, for me, needs to be balanced and much more open than many people would be agreeable to, because in my mind, the library is, publicly accessible for everybody, and it is a warehouse or storage of knowledge and accumulated knowledge of vast different styles and things like that. So that's why it needs to include all. I get really, really upset about book banning for a whole host of reasons, because I firmly believe that if you don't like what's inside the book, don't read it. Don't read it. That seems super simple.
But there's you do have a line, right? So you wouldn't allow pornography into children's library, would you?
Well, again, here's the idea, though, is that pornography is not accessible for children in the first place, so it wouldn't be an issue,
right?
Because they're under the age.
Like that's the line.
But that's under the age. That's under the age. But the idea that some people come in and say that some books are viewed as pornographic, etc., and are untowards for kids, many times I disagree with it. And the idea of, have you heard how your children talk on the playground? That type of an idea, that if you think they haven't been exposed to some of these ideas, you have your head in the sand. And I think that the restriction on some of those ideas and some of those thoughts is dangerous because it makes them sexier. The one thing for a child that makes something more attractive is tell them they can't do it or can't have it or can't see it. Now it becomes super interesting. You could have a box, you could have a shoebox on your kitchen table and say in there is a whole bunch of candy and things that we're going to have later. And just you can look in the box and you can see it, but we're going to eat that later tonight after dinner. And it's going to be kind of a party and we're going to sample this new candy and a whole bunch of other stuff. But then you tell the kid, there's something special later on tonight in that box. And you can't see it, but we're not going to talk about it until later. That box becomes infinitely more interesting, because they can't access it.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if the book is promoting, let's say I can't name a specific book.
Yeah.
But this is where Billy and I, who are both philosophy students, love to explore where the boundaries are.
Yeah, exactly. This is great. This is so much fun.
A book is written that celebrates taking opioids, engaging in prostitution, and is geared towards middle school kids, and doesn't provide balanced thought, is not written responsibly, but is actually encourages kids to engage in highly, highly risky behavior. Don't you think it's the role of parents to step in and say, we don't want our kids exposed to that stuff?
And the question I would have is when you talk about the idea of not written responsibly, as far as what does that mean?
Yeah,
Because
it celebrates that stuff.
Well,
like, hey, kids, if you take opioids, you're going to have a really great weekend.
Well, here's the thing is, I would like to look at what the message behind the book is, what the reason behind the book is, and again, what the author is necessarily promoting. If the author is promoting activities that can be illegal, then perhaps that's not a book that should be available for children at the time. We can talk about whether or not it's in the adult section, but if it is something that is advocating an idea that is directly illegal, which I would assume getting their hands on opioids and or prostitution, probably not a thing. And it's the idea of celebrating it. If it was a story about, hey, I was in a situation where my parents sold me into prostitution, and here's my story after that. Yeah, I can see middle school having some value as far as reading that. The idea of what happens on the other side. What's the message on the other end?
I do think we all have lines.
Absolutely.
And we just need to debate where those lines are. But give us a call, 303-696-1971. Wandered into the Douglas County Library, and on prominent display, Democrat leaders in the biography section, no Trump, one Republican, on the back of the section, and it was Theodore Roosevelt. So we're in an election. Do libraries have the right to say, hey, look, we're progressives or we're conservatives. We get to pick and choose the books. Give me a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
the Jeff and Bill Show. We're getting comments on all this. Never Surrender National. Got to side with Jeff on the books. Certain content should not be easily accessible to children. Bill does bring up good points, however. It's grooming. As far as the political books, it's election interference. If Kamala is presented, shouldn't Trump be as well? That would be unbiased of them. Rob in Tennessee, I agree with Billy. Everything should be accessible, but adult materials and some unpopular ideas might be in the adults only section. Nothing is more interesting than whenever you aren't allowed to see it. But once you've seen it, it's usually not that interesting.
Yeah, it was one of the things that my dad had told me when I was little. He said, listen, if someone tells you don't read a book, the very next day, start reading that book. He said,
don't read the Bible.
Yeah. He said, as soon as someone tells you not to read it,
libs.
Go read it and find out why they're telling you not to.
Yeah.
He said, just find out why. Yeah.
There you go. Well, let's give people what they want, Bill.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we do things that do not involve libraries, but do involve maybe breaking a few rules. Yes, it is what we call You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. I have scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans and given them even dumber headlines to play this fake radio news game show with you. Why? Because nobody in charge has any idea we do this at this time of the morning. They don't wake up until 7, so we will take full opportunity of not being supervised. Also, though, this is a secret, so shh, be quiet. I had one of the salesman. The sales manager told the other day, was asking, hey, I'm hearing about this music thing in this a game or something. I said, no, that was a commercial. No, I had to deny it. So plausible deniability, folks. Plausible deniability. All righty. Blake Olson in our newsroom is joining us as well. Here we go. Headline number 1. It's just a test. Headline number 2, no boom, too hot. Headline number 3, cheating in the eye of the beholder. And headline number 4, just go away. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
No boom, just pop.
Yeah, no boom, too hot is what it is. Yes, no boom, too hot. Now we're going to travel to the lovely state right north of us, Wyoming, for this one. The U.S. Forest Service is saying, be careful out there because it's a little too hot to start blowing up the dead horses. Yes. Actually, when you find wild horses and other wild animals out there, one of the things they say to do is to make them go boom because otherwise they attract bears and other carnivores into the area. Yeah. In fact, the U.S. Forest Service even has a how-to instruction guide. I might have spent a little time browsing it this morning, called Obliterating Animal Carcasses with Explosives. Why did I not know about this in middle school? It talks about where you need to place it on certain animals in order to make them go boom into tiny little pieces. Right now, though, U.S. Forest Service had recently just found 2 carcasses of wild horses, and they said, well, they couldn't make them go boom because of fire dangers right now. It's too hot, and the tinder had burned, so they actually pulled them down to the end of in a gully and put the animals there away from where normal people would travel and things like that in a trail. So yeah, they say, I'm sorry, we can't explode the horses. It's too hot. Again,
that's what they do with whales too.
Yeah, but not very well sometimes. You've seen that video. Yeah, I just looked at the idea that I had no idea that part of your job was, well, today it's going to be, imagine you're training for the U.S. Forest Service and they're like,
you got the best jobs.
Yeah, today is a horse exploding day. And you're like, wait, what? Hold on. What are we doing today? All right. Yes. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. It's just a test. Cheating in the eye of the beholder or just go away?
Let's go with Stacey Abrams in the Douglas County. No, that's another dumb
that's
story.
A different one.
That's ridiculous. I like number 1.
All right, it's just a test. Yes, this was just a test, but it scared people to death recently on the streets of South Philadelphia because the screaming started shortly before dawn. It was 5:30 in the morning where a local neighborhood was awakened by very loud screaming. The woman sounded like she was in desperate need of help right away, but it was fake. And it was being broadcast by the local police department. Why? Well, it goes back to a court case. There's a court case where the defendant says that he actually wasn't the rapist involved. He was coming to help the woman, but there are some things that have been gone wrong inside the investigation. And he's disputing how far away the rape victim's screams could have been heard. So the lawyers decided a little test. They decided that they got the police okay
at the time
to run screams and see how far away you could hear them.
Really?
They did not, however, tell the residents of the neighborhood. So 5:30 in the morning, a very loud scream, and they ran the screams for an hour.
Come on.
Yeah. The judge
They
just
should
said,
be arrested.
yeah, that is ridiculous. That's absolutely stupid. Yes. And they're like, sorry, just a test. For what? All right. Jeff Hunt, your final choice, sir. Cheating in the eye of the beholder or just go away?
Just go away.
Yeah, just go away. A British woman has sued her former employer because she didn't get a farewell card. She found out, according to court, it's just because nobody signed it. They bought a card, nobody signed it. And the boss had to admit in court, well, I thought it would hurt your feelings to give you the blank card that nobody liked you anyway. So, yeah, she lost the case. That's it. Back to you. That's the end of You Choose the News.
Billy, that was one of the better ones you've ever done. That
Thank
was
you.
a rock star level. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thor, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, the ladies of The View, saying if you're not supporting Kamala Harris, dudes, it's because you're a misogynist. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's your fault. And is this a desperate effort at the end of a losing campaign to try to shame some people to vote for her? We're going to cover this and more. I want to hear your thoughts, you misogynists out there voting for Donald Trump. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Blake, you are the, I don't want to say the biggest misogynist, but yeah, Stacey Abrams at Douglas County.
Stacey Abrams at the Douglas County Library. If you dug deep into her past, oh my! You know, I had this same experience. I had right when you were telling the story. I was like, oh my god! I went through this 10 years ago at the Lone Tree Library. I love these people. They were awesome. And my kids were, we'd go in there and you had Obama, like 3 books of Obama. Okay. Then you had Michelle Obama, you had Oprah and LeBron James just plastered in front of your face. Like Billy said, the display. And I felt like I was at a department store or something. But so I was like, man, I can't take this. So I went up to the library and I said, hey, how about can we put this one up there? What book are you talking about? Can we put this Ben Carson one up there? And she was like, who's Ben Carson?
Dude, I think it's who we educate. I was looking into library sciences at one point because I thought my daughter might be a librarian. I think she's going to be a missionary now. But you know, kids are. They get really excited about it. And I was like, all right, let's go look into library sciences.
Exactly.
And I was working for a university, so we were hiring and negotiating librarian contracts and all that. And they're just college educated, but I think that they're probably, I bet that industry is 98% liberal.
I would guess. And I love them all. I talk to all of them. Or when we used to go to the library, quietly. A lot. Quietly. Yeah, quietly. Absolutely.
Also, if people are going to join us on the YouTubes and the Rumbles and the Twitters and whatever the hell we're going to call it anymore, behind my head, we've done the Jeff and Bill book display. We've got some children's books in place behind me, but we'll have to let the viewers, we'll have to look and see if they can identify who they are. 3 different authors.
It's not 3 different subjects. Billy would put up there.
No, it was Adam will be able to video. It's actually Brad Meltzer, who's a friend of Pete Boyle's, has been on Boyle's show a lot, does some other work, but also writes some children's books. So he had some of his kids' books around, so he threw them up behind me. Yeah,
I love it. It looks good, by the way. Your shot,
dude.
We got really good.
Got some lights.
I know it's red lights. It looks like
that looks
really. I can change the color of the lights, and I can make them
with red. It looks like what's that guy from Star Trek, Star Wars?
What? I'm gonna punch you. Don't make me come over there right now.
with the red thing, red light.
Oh, Captain
saber.
Kirk. No, that's not him. But yes, there is a Star Wars reference hidden in my background because the bobbleheads that pop up behind you, my friend Jeff, I did a couple of weeks ago, just for the friends that are paying attention on the stream. I did hide a Star Wars character in behind me just to be on brand. Yeah, but you have to look closely to find him.
So warm and cozy in there. I love it.
I hate you sometimes. You're the best.
43 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: pilots for Frontier have voted in favor of holding a strike if they can't get a favorable contract from the company. The union representing the pilots announced Tuesday that 97% of its membership took part in the strike, authorizing the authorization vote, with 99% of those pilots authorizing the strike. The Denver-based airline said a strike is not imminent, and the negotiations with the pilots are ongoing. Frontier's flight attendants are also negotiating a new contract and voted last month to authorize a strike. Over 90 people are still unaccounted for in North Carolina after Helene. And FEMA says that it will not be deterred by what they call misinformation about the relief efforts and will continue to help those impacted by Helene. Former President Trump says he will bring companies back to the U.S. if elected. He sat down for an interview with Bloomberg News and the Economic Club of Chicago on Tuesday. Trump reiterated his plan to implement tariffs. He promised what he called strong tariffs that will protect companies in the U.S. Polls have shown that voters believe Trump will handle the economy better than Harris if elected. Trump also talked about the governor of California.
Millions of people, 21 million people at least, have come in the last 3.5 years, unvetted, unchecked. We don't know anything about them. How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, I call him.
Yeah. But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's
but
fine
they don't
for
have
a
to
president?
survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There's never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
Well, you made a.
I say nuisance.
I
like
love
Newsom
that.
better, though.
I love that.
You?
Look, this is what the elites just don't get about the guy.
Yeah.
Is one, what he's had to face. Every other CEO in that room would crumble like a cheap suit the minute they faced 1/10 of the pressure that Donald Trump gets.
Fold. Yeah.
They would fold and
They
just,
would.
oh gosh, the people don't like me. Oh, the idea that somebody out there doesn't like me.
Oh my God.
And then they become weak and they become feckless and they just allow the left to just run right all over them. And Trump fights back. And that is why Republicans and our primary voters and just blue collar people like the guy.
And he does it wearing a suit. How does he do that every day? The guy always has a suit. The only time he doesn't wear a suit is when he's playing golf. It's incredible.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't handle it. Nobody could handle the pressure. Showing up to court, knowing you're innocent. What a joke. Kamala Khan on Fox News today at 4:00 on, on Tuesday, she was with Charlemagne, the God. He calls himself the God. Charlemagne, I don't know about that one either. And a nut job, Bobby calls up with a question for Harris.
Hi, I'm Bobby from Georgia, and I have a question for Kamala Harris. Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants if he wins the election? This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Yeah, so you've hit on a really important point and expressed it, I think, so well, which is he is achieving his intended effect to make you scared.
So she's ginning up the narrative, getting them all riled up. No evidence of that. Of course, it's ridiculous. Charles Payne from Fox Business says that a lot of black men think for themselves, believe it or not, Kamala Khan, and they see what Democrats are doing.
When I sit with my friends and we talk, yeah, they're all registered Democrats, and most of them are loathed, have never voted for a Republican. But when you listen to our conversations, you would think it was a room full of 10 Republicans. I mean, it's time to say, hey, whether you talk out loud, because, this whole cancel culture has been existing in our black community for a long time. Either you keep it real, but when you want to be yourself, it's not keeping it real, right? You keep it real or you're kicked out. People are saying, forget about it.
All right, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston is in Mexico City this week for an international gathering. The Bloomberg City Lab pays for it. It'll give Johnston a chance to discuss immigration with the mayor of Guatemala City during the conference. Here's what needs to be said. Hey, love your city. You guys are great. Good luck to you. The border is about to be a border again. Sovereignty is important for both countries. Okay, there you go. End of story. It's 39 in Broomfield, 42 in Englewood, 43 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Hump Day morning. Go Spock. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Unseasonably warm for a couple more days, and you're going to notice the weather changing as we head into Friday and the weekend. Mid to upper 70s today, near 50 tonight, highs low to mid 70s tomorrow. Sunny to partly sunny today, a few more clouds on Thursday, also becoming a bit more breezy. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 60s and falling. Showers will be likely late Friday, Friday night into Saturday, and colder. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
I think most Republicans out there are in good spirits. The campaign seems to be turning, definitely the betting turning towards Donald Trump winning in less than 3 weeks. Gosh, that's coming up quick. Another indicator, from my perspective, is that the Harris operation and Democrats out there getting a little desperate. Here's the ladies on The View talking about why dudes don't seem to be supporting Kamala Harris all that much.
Fall into flavor with Paris Baguette's pumpkin.
Well, crap. Guess who didn't cut off the front part of it? Hang on a sec. Give me a second here. I can't believe I didn't get... Okay, give me a sec. Talk amongst yourself for a second.
I love that. You got free advertisement on the Jeff and Bill show. So we'll preview this here. He's going to edit that. But just but yesterday on The View, the ladies noticing, not just her, but Andrea Mitchell as well, that the dudes aren't all that excited about Kamala Harris. And is it rooted in misogyny? Is it because men don't want to elect a woman to be president of the United States? Well, there's some of that out there. We actually have a caller that sometimes calls and says that. But I don't think that's most of it. I just think that she's a failed candidate. I think she's one of the worst candidates that's ever been put up there. She can't think on her feet. And I had a theory early on that some of the top Democrat brass knew that they were likely going to lose to Donald Trump and ran a little sacrificial candidate. That's why you didn't see the fight from Jared Polis, from Gavin Newsom, from Paul Shapiro. They all kind of just went, yeah, Kamala, you go ahead. You take this one. We'll get it in 4 years when we have a better chance, because things aren't going so great under Biden-Harris leadership. So yesterday on The View, the co-host, noticing that she has a problem with the men, say, no, it's that they have a problem with her. The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar shot down fellow liberal co-host Sunny Hostin on Tuesday after she highlighted Vice President Kamala Harris's troubles with supports from male voters. This is from Fox News, suggesting it was the men who have a problem with her. So you have to speak to everyone, I think. Again, she's running a flawless campaign. That is a joke in itself. But if you think about it, Joe Rogan has the #1 podcast in the country, and then you start to think, well, it's men. She has a problem with men. Many men don't want to vote for her, Hostin claimed. But Behar and Goldberg injected and insisted, no, they have a problem with her. Listen to this exchange yesterday. Coming.
So Vice President Harris is venturing into uncharted territory for many Democrats. She's sitting down for an interview with Bret Baier that airs tomorrow night, and reportedly considering an appearance with Joe Rogan's podcast. And everyone has been saying, well, you don't do that. You don't go to Fox. You didn't do that. So now she's doing it. I can't wait to hear what she's not doing now. Because she's going to everybody. Because she wants to talk.
She is not going to everybody.
That's makes sense because she's going to be everybody's president.
Yes.
Right? And so you have to speak to everyone. And I think, again, she's just run this flawless campaign. If you think about Joe Rogan, he's got the #1 podcast in the country. And then you start to think, well, it's men. She has a problem with men. There are many men that don't want to vote for her.
She doesn't have a problem with her.
That's right.
They have a problem with her.
That's much better. Thank you for correcting that. Now, half of Rogan's fans identify as Republican, but half didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2020. So there is an opening for Kamala. There's an opening for Democrats to communicate with that 48% of men that don't like that choice. And I'll say this, 25% of his fans are Hispanic. And we know that she's also having that problem with Hispanic men. And so, well, they're having problems.
Well, and elections are all
So I'm
math.
happy
It's
about
all
that.
math and numbers. So the most important part here is that she gets to tell her own narrative and no one's describing her because we're in a siloed world. So people are consuming her with other people describing her. This comes straight from her mouth and people can decide for what they want. And that's where she'll shine.
And she's going where the votes are. And I think that both are going to be tough interviews. Brett Baier is a real journalist. He'll ask hard questions. Joe Rogan is actually a quite talented interviewer. I don't agree with a lot of things he says. But what she has an opportunity to do is A, define herself, but also push back on lies that some of the Fox audience may not get about Donald Trump and his record. He blocked the border and about her. Blocked the border security bill. He wants to raise taxes effectively through his tariffs. But also, she's going to show up and they're going to see she is smart. She is somebody who could be commander.
And it's hard to call somebody a dummy to their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those things, all those ways they've been describing her in the various times we've seen. You know, when you're face to face, one-on-one with somebody, they're no longer an enigma.
Yeah.
They are a reality and you got to deal with
it. By the way, it takes, I think, a lot of bravery and courage to walk into a place that may not be
look at the difference in the two of them. She will go into what enemy territory, which the geriatric said over the Rupert Murdoch's thing. He's not even American. I guess like go to your own country and destroy it. That's one thing. Rupert Murdoch.
That's what Republicans are saying about illegal immigration.
But he's afraid.
Don't weave on us.
You're weaving. But Trump, he won't even take questions from his own supporters. He starts dancing to, the time to say goodbye. And she will go into enemy territory. That shows you that she has more than he does.
You know what? It's that thing. And this is for all the women in the audience. Women are forced to go into places constantly where people don't always welcome them. So she understands what this is. She gets it. And thank God for you men who are here in our audience who aren't afraid to come here and hear what we're doing. So thank you. And thank you to Brett Baier to saying yes. And to Joe Rogan for saying yes. Thank you for that.
So those are the ladies on The View blaming the dudes. But polls suggest that electing a woman isn't a top priority for men or women. But men in particular don't see it as important. A Pew Research Center poll released last year asked Americans how important it is that a woman be elected president in their lifetime. Found that only 18% of U.S. adults said this was extremely or very important to them. Some 64% said it's not too important at all, or that the president's gender doesn't matter. Same poll showed that 73% of men and 57% of women said the issue was not too important, not at all important, or that the president's gender doesn't matter. You're seeing this move towards this place in a campaign that is not good. I've been on lots of campaigns, a master's degree in political management. When you get to blaming the voters for anything, it's not a good place to be. It's not inspirational. It shows signs of desperation. I don't think men are not supporting Kamala Harris because she's a woman. I think they're not supporting her because she's a terrible candidate and they don't want her to be the president of the United States. But tell me what you think. Give me a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. And I'll put this question out there too. Is Kamala Harris the right person to be historically forever and all time, the first woman president of the United States of America. I can't think of a more incompetent person than her, and I can think of lots of other women I'd love to see as the first woman president of the United States, and it's not Kamala Harris. But tell me what you think. Let's go to the phone lines. Jacqueline, Sydney. Good morning, Jacqueline. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know, Kamala Harris isn't popular among women either. You know, she has a limited vocabulary. When you see her, she looks like and comes across like a sociopath. You know, she talks in circles, in rhymes. If she represents the American woman, I'll eat my hat. Now, I would vote for a Margaret Thatcher or even a Nancy Reagan. I'd vote for a woman that had something on the ball. We have all these young, strong women in politics now that would make a 100-time better president than Kamala Harris. She is a placeholder and she's a throwaway person. You know, I don't know what they were thinking. I think they want to guilt America into voting for someone who wears a skirt and who has a skin color. And that's what I believe. That's why they ran her. And Walz, I don't know what to think about him. He is the pastiest old white guy I've ever seen.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, Jacqueline. Then who's supporting Kamala Harris? Because statistically, in many cases, Trump and Harris are tied. We're seeing that men, that's what The View was talking about, aren't supporting Harris. And now you're saying women aren't supporting Harris. So then who is supporting Harris if she's statistically tied, in your opinion?
Well, you know, that's a mystery, isn't it? Because, you know, we're lied to every day by the media here, every day, all day long. I have never, I've done
Jackson,
several polls
are the polls lying to us then?
I think the polls are slighted, yes, very much so.
No, I'm not saying slight. I'm saying lying to us. Are they lying to us?
Yes, Billy,
okay.
I do think we're being
so Donald Trump is not leading in some of those states. Harris is.
I don't even believe those polls. I think Donald Trump's so far ahead of her, and that's my own opinion. I'm not even watching those polls. I'm watching people around this country, and I'm hearing people from all over the place. That's what I'm hearing. I think that if you're going to be guilted into voting for a woman of color, she's gotten through her entire life using her sex and her race, whatever that is.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. But let's talk about the polls for a second. Because you said you don't believe in the polls. You know, anything they're lying. And the reason I'm asking this is because you said that women don't support Harris, and that is the exact opposite of what we've seen in the polls. So what I'm wondering is, these companies are running the polls, and if they're out there lying, how are they still in business? Because
Dude, I've wondered that about pollsters. I don't trust pollsters at all.
Well,
and I've known this because they don't want to lie to their clients. That's what I've seen internally.
That's true. You know, a
But how are they
statistic
still
can
in
be
business then?
Well, you know, they're billionaires. The people that are running all of this are part of the deep
No, they're
state.
not. No.
You know,
The people running the poll companies are not billionaires. It's not
Well, the
George
people who are
Soros or
running-
the Koch brothers running those polling campaigns. It's not Elon Musk running the campaigns. Jeff Bezos isn't running those. Mark Zuckerberg
Well,
isn't running those.
You know, I saw an interesting photo the other day. It was one of Tim Walz, and standing in the background in a Manhattan apartment was Alex Soros, standing there with his hand in his pocket. He wanted to make sure that when that photo op was taken, people realized that Tim Walz belongs to Alex Soros, who was the son of George Soros.
Could Alex just be there though? Because should we then imply that anybody in the background that is a political mover and shaker in a Trump picture owns Trump? Because your assertion is that because we see this person in the back, they then own the candidate. Can we then make the same assertion with
One
Donald
has
Trump?
money and one doesn't.
No, I'm just wondering, is this, I'm looking for consistency. I'm saying, is that what we should assume with Donald Trump? That when he sits there and maybe he's sitting in a picture and there are a bunch of tech bros behind, should we assume the tech bros bought him?
Well, I don't know. I don't know any of them that have the reputation with the name Soros that I've seen him hanging out with or photo opting with. But I thought it was quite interesting. We're being fed, I think, a bunch of false information on who is popular and who isn't. And nobody, I don't think, anymore watches A View. How they're on, they're paid lackeys for the Democrat Party. That's what they are. Those people don't watch them. People don't watch Oprah Winfrey anymore.
Well, Oprah's not on broadcast TV, but yes, people, and I'm just pushing back, Jacqueline, because yes, people are watching The View, because the reason is this: The View isn't there to just push a political viewpoint. I understand that people believe that's what happens on broadcast television and also on talk radio, but the core mission of both broadcast television and exactly what Jeff and I do here is to gather the largest audience possible and then sell stuff to them. That's the core. So if The View isn't gathering an audience and they can't sell stuff to them, that's the problem. That's the problem advertisers are having with going on Twitter, is the audience and being able to sell them stuff based on what they're positioned next to. So that's it. If The View wasn't selling and moving product, The View wouldn't be on the air. Personally.
Well, I don't know what they sell, Billy, except for propaganda and
it's in the commercial breaks. It's in the commercial breaks.
I do think there's
That's
a
what they're
lot
selling.
of women out there that would agree with what they hear in The View. I think it's wrong, but I've run into them, and I mostly went to college with them. I want to get back to this question here real quick. Here's Andrea Mitchell, who called out Harris's issues with male voters during a recent appearance on NBC's Meet the Press. This comes from a Fox News article. She's got such a big problem with men. Did we lose Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, are you there? Oh, yeah, we did.
She's got such a big problem with men, Mitchell said, and adding that support for Trump among that demographic could be underestimated. I think that there's misogynation in all this. Black and white men. It's a big problem. But also the business world. They don't think she is serious. They don't think she's a heavyweight. And a lot of this is gender. But she's got to be more specific about her economic plans, Mitchell continued. I think they've got to double down on doing more interviews and serious interviews. So Mitchell's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But mainstream media, people like MSNBC, saying that there's misogynation in all of this black and white men. But I've noticed that she's not quite running the same campaign that Hillary Clinton ran.
No, she's not, which is smart.
Right, because it didn't work. Like the break the glass ceiling, kind of historic moment for all the girls to rally around, because somehow just electing you based upon your chromosomes is somehow going to make you a better leader in this country. But so Kamala Harris is kind of stuck in a unique moment. She's not embracing the idea of being the first woman the same way that Hillary Clinton is. But at the same time, dudes aren't excited to vote for her, both black and white. And I think it has a lot more to do with the candidate than the idea of misogynation, like Andrea Mitchell is saying.
Yeah. See, I'm not certain that it is all misogyny, but I do believe that plays a portion of it. I'm not sure how significant a portion, but I do think that inside I would say somewhere, and again, I'm just talking about an individual choice, that when they're making that choice, I do believe that in some cases misogyny plays into it, because we've had callers and we've had texters that talk about, you couldn't possibly trust women on that. And I'll go back to, there's a comedian whose name escapes me right now. And he talks about some of the pushback on, and this was prior to Kamala running. This was about 3 years ago is when he was doing this stand-up, and he was talking about women running for politics and people saying, no, we can't have a woman in charge of America, because what happens when it's, that time of the month and things, we'd be concerned about her and she'd be too emotional. And he came back and said, you know what, if it is that time of the month and she's emotional, she starts a war, probably the best reason to start a war versus all the others. If you look at all the other reasons wars were started, that might be the most innocuous and banal reason to start a war. If you had to rank them as far as what you were trying to do, and again, he's being facetious, but that's the issue, is if that's what you're worried about, remember the reason we started all the other wars? Maybe in the rank order of things.
There's part of me that thinks that Bush went back to Iraq just because his dad asked him to.
Oh, absolutely, he did. 110% he did. Yes, he wanted to finish the job, and he wanted to prove that he could do the job. Absolutely.
And he 110%. wanted, did you know he had Saddam Hussein's personal revolver in his office?
Yeah. I'd heard that. I didn't know. I didn't get confirmation, but yeah,
I think he was personal.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
absolutely, because he went after.
To your point,
he went after Dad. Saddam tried to kill his father, so of course it was personal. Yes, because the idea of, oh my gosh, this happened here, and we're going to go attack this country, that we couldn't point back to them being involved in it. Yeah, it was personal, and I think that's part of it as well, is that it's somewhat personal for people.
So the other point I want to get to is, if her campaign is at this point. I and having to do Joe Rogan, Fox, but mostly Joe Rogan, I'm not sure that's actually going to happen. I'm hearing all these rumors about it.
Yeah.
I think it would be a disaster for her
to
do it, because she can't answer these questions. And I don't think we're going to see tonight with Fox.
Yeah. But
I don't
you don't
think
think
that's
that she
gonna
can
go
answer
that
these
well.
questions? And what do you mean
No,
by
no, no.
these questions? Now, I
Any
understand
question. I don't think she can answer any question.
Well, she's been doing the interviews and the questions are out there.
Bro,
and she's
have you
answered some.
watched the 60 Minutes edited and
Yeah.
non-edited?
Yeah,
She
I have.
stumbles through that. She
Yeah.
can't figure anything out.
But have you seen Donald Trump's answers? Same thing. Same thing. And that's the issue. That's the issue. It's not
And
as
I
if,
also think
it's
he's
not
got
as if,
JD Vance. I was wondering this, but yesterday going, because originally I wasn't a good pick. I didn't think JD Vance was going to be a good pick. He is so good in these interviews that it's like bringing in a ringer that's just sealing the deal for the Trump campaign.
I disagree. I think that JD Vance is still a little bit of a drag. He's still a bit off-putting at times. I haven't seen, he does have higher favorability ratings post vice presidential debate than he had beforehand. I haven't seen anything recently as far as, because, he was 10 points underwater. I think last time I had looked at favorability, and I think he was pretty close to even. I mean, it was kind of shocking as far as how much that gap, but I haven't seen anything recently. That was like right after the vice presidential debate. And that's the issue, is the critique. Kamala can't answer the question. Trump can't answer the questions. We saw the Bloomberg thing yesterday. He wandered all over the place as far as his answers and didn't provide any necessary details. The reason I think the Joe Rogan thing is a good idea is because Rogan is a decent interviewer, not very high on the intelligence meter.
The policy details.
Based on the questions he's going to ask, he's not going to be able to have some of those follow-ups. He is not going to be able to ask the hard questions. He's not going to be able to push her on certain things. He's not built that way. That's not where his brain is. That's not what he does. And so if they were going to debate who is the best MMA fighter right now, he could go hard into that. But getting into the policy details, Kamala is going to be able to run over and wallpaper over a whole lot of things that other people will be able to ask. For me, the Joe Rogan thing is more important than the Fox News. The Fox News is just tick the box that, hey, I went on Fox News. How come you canceled out on 60 Minutes? That's what that's about.
Her polling has been crashing ever since she's done more and more media. And I think it's going to continue to go down there. And I don't think she's going to sound all that smart or intelligent on either of these. And I think indicative of all this is this fumbled, crazy effort to blame men for being misogynistic when they don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. And anytime a campaign is blaming the voters themselves, doesn't look good. All right, look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike and the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. This guy is really great. People love him. He gets all these 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. You can see them. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. Look, if your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves just making a small pinhole in the tissue and gently repositioning the gums. You can schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover all the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. Get a good dentist. Start getting that work taken care of and get a guy like Dr. Mike who will walk you through all of that. All right, here are the questions I'd love to get from our listeners. Is the reason Kamala Harris is not getting the votes because she is a woman? And men, both black and white and Hispanic, are not voting for her because of misogyny? Or is she just a terrible candidate? Like one of the worst we've ever seen, can't answer the questions, has no experience, has no pathway, and no real plan to make America great again. So people don't want her to be the president of the United States. Give me a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Text messages coming in all over this. 5631, ask Hillary how she likes the pollsters. She was well ahead until the results came in. She's still saying the election was stolen. 8422, Jacqueline was spot on. They're trying to guilt people into voting for her. It's a victim mentality, and it's disgusting. Text message from 6430. They don't like Jacqueline. Iggy.
I like Jacqueline.
Jeff, gender doesn't matter. Just ask Bill. I think he's getting back
Nicely
into
done. I like that, Iggy. High five. High five, my friend. I see where you're going with that. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah,
So-
that's good.
Give us a call. Would love for you to be a part of the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Walgreens has announced that it's shutting down 1,200 stores over the next 3 years as the pharmaceutical giant continues to struggle because of high inflation and low consumer spending. Pharmacy chains are facing some of the toughest times as Walgreens stock is trading near a 30-year low and down 65% this year, making it the worst performing stock on the S&P 500 index. The new CEO has made a series of changes since taking on the top job last year, including cutting the workforce and initiating a $1 billion cost-cutting program. The closures were announced back in June, but the company had not yet disclosed the number of affected stores at that time. A new poll by Gallup has revealed that the American public's trust in the mainstream media has hit a new all-time low. In fact, the report shows that the news media is trusted less than even Congress. Greg Cluxton reports.
A new Gallup poll reveals that Americans have serious doubts about the news media. 1/3 of those surveyed have no trust at all in the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. And another third of Americans express not very much confidence. According to Gallup, the news media is the least trusted group among civic and political institutions, ranking just below Congress. Greg Clugston, Washington.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Lots of comments on Kamala Harris and whether or not she's going to do Joe Rogan. Rob in Tennessee, I don't think Rogan will be a difficult interview for her, other than general questions on policy like legalizing pot or the continuation of student loan forgiveness. I don't think he'll go deep on the issues and would be too difficult for her.
Yeah, he'd be fairly easy.
What if she pulled
interview.
the Elon Musk?
If what?
What if she pulled the Elon Musk?
And did what? What do you mean?
Smoke pot with Joe Rogan.
Oh, jeez. Probably not good when you're running. Yeah, when you're running for a candidate. But yeah, Rogan doesn't ask necessarily difficult questions, and he doesn't really follow up with hard follow-ups.
That's a good point.
It's for me because it's the number one rated podcast.
Likes her.
I don't think it would matter. I think it's just, but even if it didn't, could that come across? And if he doesn't, would that play into the misogyny angle where he's like grumpy with her and he's being, and he feels, and it sounds like he's more angry or aggressive with her than he is with other people that have been in there. If they have that sort of an example, then it's going to feed her misogyny narrative. So that would be a negative, I would think.
Jason in Denver, Mexico just elected a woman president who happens to be Jewish. Don't blame the Hispanics for Harris faltering with men. Good point, Jason in Denver.
That is fair. That's a fair point. It's weird that the other major nations that have had female leaders and then we're still like, nah, not sure. And you said it earlier.
The quality of the candidates.
Well, that's the thing is, it's always the idea that the right woman has to be there. And I'm like, wait a minute, hang on. You're going to tell me that the other women that were elected in these other leaders in other countries were the perfect candidate for the women to break that glass ceiling? And I would disagree.
So far, it's Hillary and Kamala. At the top of a major party ticket. I don't know my full history if somebody else was at the top of the ticket, but yeah, no, it comes down to the quality of the candidate. If it's between those two, that might be why we're not electing women presidents. 8422, Joe Rogan would let her get settled and comfortable, and then when the time is just right, hold her accountable for endless dodging of questions and babbling. All he would have to do after listening to her answers is, what did you mean by that? She would be done. She's got a big one tonight on Fox. That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. By the way, Bill is going to be out tomorrow.
Yep, I'm not here. So,
and my co-host is going to be conservative mama.
Yeah. You see what Jeff's doing? He's already replacing me. See how that works? See how that's going to work. And all y'all are going to text and say, oh, that was wonderful. Fire Billy.
4 hours by myself is a little daunting.
It's not like we don't get the Fire Billy text daily. There's going to be more of them.
Let's go to Francis in Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
What's up, you guys? Hey, I think this is a very, very, there's no misogyny, there's no racism, there's none of that here. That's an easy dodge. And I have an answer that's in the form of two words in the form of a name, and that's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley would be killing either of these candidates in any forum on either side, whether Democrat or Republican. And it's just because she's much brighter, basically. I don't think I think she's paper thin. And I think that really shows. I think it comes through on every interview, everything she says. I just don't think she's that smart. And that's coming from me, which is like, pot calling the kettle black,
Yeah, I think you got a point there. And I agree with you that Nikki Haley would be stomping Kamala or Biden, whoever it was. I think the Republicans missed an opportunity with her. I also believe that Haley would give, and what I'm hearing, okay, I should back up a little bit. I'm hearing more of a reticence to vote for a female presidential candidate on the conservative side of the aisle more than I'm hearing it on the liberal side of the aisle. And that would seem more or less just self-evident, just based on how our society is. And I think that a Nikki Haley under a GOP banner would erase some of those preconceived questions about whether or not a woman and her tiny lady brain could actually run the country, because that's where I'm hearing it from, are the questions. I remember during the Hillary run against Donald Trump that there were at rallies, a number of Trump rallies, a lot of people there saying there's no way a woman could be president. And it had more to do with not that woman being president, but they said that. I think it would give them permission where it may not give them permission in other areas. Although, I agree with you that I think the misogyny is a portion of it, but it's not the driving force.
I even really wonder, honestly, Billy, I don't know if it's that much of a portion of it. Maybe it is among some more conservative, but that doesn't factor into my thought process whatsoever.
Yeah, I think where I've only seen it is among more conservative religious elements where they bleed the prohibitions on women in church leadership into any form of leadership. Right. So, like, for instance, the Catholic Church or more conservative versions of the Presbyterian Church, where they say we're complementarian. We don't believe in women in church leadership. And somehow that bleeds into like all levels of societal leadership. But there's no prohibition from my perspective on a woman being president.
What I mean by the idea of kind of the casual misogyny or things that we don't realize it is, we can talk to, and I'm sure all of us can talk to women in our lives and have those instances in which they have been in charge and not allowed to be in charge based on interactions, where you have someone, I know someone works as an auto mechanic, and she'll get in there and they'll say, no, I want to talk to the boss. I want them to tell me what's wrong with the car, not understanding that she's the floor manager at that time. She is the second person in charge in that place.
My mother in the radio industry.
Yes, I'm sure she has so many stories. So many.
Appreciate the call.
That's a great example.
Yeah. Francis, great call. Really appreciate it. I want to talk to you about a great event coming up at Colorado Christian University. Friday, November 15th, CCU invites you to an exclusive luncheon and lecture featuring the 48th President of the United States, Mike Pence, his wife, former Second Lady Karen Pence. In partnership with the Centennial Institute and CCU President Eric Hogue, this event offers a unique opportunity to engage in conversation with Vice President Pence, one of America's most dedicated public servants, sharing his insights on the future of the conservative movement. Reminder, this will be after the presidential election, so a lot of commentary and analysis taking place. Be among the first to experience the new Armstrong Center as CCU launches its President Speaker Series on this historic occasion. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. Limited tickets are available for breakfast with Karen Pence, lunch with Mike Pence, and morning and evening lectures. Throughout the day, you'll engage in conversations on leadership, faith, and service with these distinguished guests. Please join CCU on November 15th for these events with Mike and Karen Pence. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. That's ccu.edu/Pence. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. My goodness. Lots of text messages. 8422. Never better, Billy.
Thanks, Mom. I'll call you later. Appreciate you. Love you. Good morning.
5600. Nikki Haley's a globalist hack, rhino uniparty puppet, Bill. One that has to be incredibly indoctrinated like her. Perhaps that's why Billy likes her.
I still think she'd be a better choice than the two that we have running right now. I just personally think so. And again, I love the idea of the globalist thing. It's, for me, that's capitalism. And it's not globalist, it's globalization. The globalization of markets is leaning into capitalism. For all the times that everybody yells and screams at me for being a stupid liberal, I'm a diehard capitalist, and that's where globalization comes in. The idea of market efficiencies. But that's for yesterday.
Rob in Tennessee. Yeah, well, believe me, we'll have a lot more conversations about tariffs.
Yes.
There's a lot of text messages about that too.
Oh, gosh, yes.
You're probably right about misogyny with some people, but as for me, as long as she's smart, competent, tough, so she can deal with all the crap, she'd have my vote. Margaret Thatcher comes to mind as a good example. I love that lady. Bring back, I think you could have the first American female president if she was like the Iron Lady. All right, we'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Jeff supporting zombies.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Coming up this hour after news and comment with Blake Olson, did Donald Trump get into a trance and sway for 40 minutes to music on a stage yesterday? Well, not exactly.
I prefer to think it was a dance party. Yes, that's what it is. Yes. It's a dance
And
party.
maybe it's just a sign that he's winning. Senior year, second semester.
Yes.
You've already graduated. You got into the college you want to go to. So let's take the extra long lunch.
Okay. Side note there. There is a person whose name I will not mention on the air right now that did avail themselves of early enrollment, got into a very, very nice college, and then ran into a disciplinary issue second semester. But since it was a minor one, but it could have impacted application if he was doing it in the fall, because he had gone early admission, he skated through. So again, yeah, it's very smart, very smart. I was like that. Yeah, he avoided that one. Yeah.
And my parents opened their backyard pool on senior ditch day.
Oh, geez.
So my second semester of high school was right out of Ferris Bueller.
I bet. We will tell stories one day, my friend. We'll tell stories one day. One day when I know my mom is not listening. Just because. Hi, Mom.
Right. By the way, we love your mom. She's a delightful lady.
Thank you.
Also, the rural broadband debacle. Kamala Harris seeks to build a rural broadband infrastructure, becomes a total flop, $42 billion. And then Elon Musk seeks to do that, and the FCC gets involved. Are they illegally targeting? Is Joe Biden's administration illegally targeting Elon Musk, not just with the FCC, but with other administrations going after their political opponents? We'll cover that as well. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson.
All right. Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 43 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Kamala Khan will sit down for an exclusive interview with Fox News later today. It's set to air at 4 o'clock Denver time from Pennsylvania, a key battleground state. DJT will also be on Fox News today. Last night's Trump town hall with an all-female audience will air in 1 hour. If Trump wins, Mark Halperin tells Tucker it'll be a mess mentally.
I say this not flippantly. I think it will be the cause of the greatest mental health crisis in the history of the country. I think tens of millions of people will question their connection to the nation, their connection to other human beings, their connection to their vision of what their future for them and their children could be like. And I think that will be require an enormous amount of access to mental health professionals. I think it'll lead to trauma in the workplace. I think there'll be some degree of. Are you being serious? 100% serious. 100% serious. I think there'll be alcoholism. There'll be broken marriages.
Some proof of this, the California Coastal Commission is not supposed to be political, but they've absolutely turned on Elon Musk and SpaceX because now he agrees with conservatives. These are the people we're dealing with on the left.
Talking about SpaceX in this. And I will say, I just want to put it out there, as a person in this process, as was mentioned earlier today, we're an appointed body. There's politics and policy and science. They mix in these spaces. It's real. This company is owned by the richest person in the world with direct control over what could be the most extensive global communication system on the planet. And just last week, that person was speaking about political retribution on a national stage.
Oh my goodness.
And it was very glib. But yet he was standing next to a candidate that openly promotes and is working to normalize that language. And we have to push back against that.
They're all lefties and accusing Musk of doing exactly what they are doing right there. 3 presidents are expected at today's memorial service for Ethel Kennedy. The 96-year-old Kennedy family matriarch died last weekend. President Joe Biden will deliver a eulogy at the service, and former presidents Clinton and Obama also expected to be in attendance. I'm assuming RFK Jr. will be there as well. Over 90 people in North Carolina are still missing in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Frontier Airlines pilots have voted in favor of holding a strike if they can't get a favorable contract from the company. The union representing the pilots announced Tuesday that 97% of its membership took part in the strike authorization vote, with 99% of those pilots authorizing the strike. More issues in New York City with Venezuelan gangs. Imagine that.
What started out as a robbery crew, upwards of 50 robberies, 20 individuals arrested for upwards of 50 robberies and out of those 20 individuals, every single one of them is on the streets today. So
that's crazy. Now, there are reports that they're operating the Roosevelt Hotel, which used to be a very nice hotel in New York City. Now it's a migrant shelter. What are we talking about? What's going on inside this hotel that is now spilling out into the Times Square area?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a recruitment process.
Oh, it's all in their imagination. It's not even real. Lawsuits grow against Sean Diddy Combs, including allegations he molested a teen boy at a party in the Hamptons. His lawyers are calling for a judge to release the names of the 6 people who filed the new lawsuits anonymously. He's accused of using his position in the industry to enable sex abuse. The bidding for Shohei Ohtani's historic 50-50 ball is up to $1.7 million. The Dodgers star hit the ball for a home run in Miami last month, becoming the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a season. Shohei Ohtani. 41 in Arvada, 43 in Lone Tree, 45 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Wednesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Unseasonably warm for a couple more days, and you're going to notice the weather changing as we head into Friday and the weekend. Mid to upper 70s today, near 50 tonight, highs low to mid 70s tomorrow. Sunny to partly sunny today, a few more clouds on Thursday, also becoming a bit more breezy. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 60s and falling. Showers will be likely late Friday night into Saturday, and colder. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So yesterday blew up. Shocking expose that Donald Trump is out of it. He swept the stage during a town hall. Didn't engage in conversation. He's lost his mind. The libs here on X in Colorado tweeting all about it. Friends over at Colorado Polls. Daily Show even did a segment on it. So what happened yesterday? Now, you can join me in not believing the Associated Press, not having trust in those mainstream media outlets, but here's what they posted. And I wasn't there, and I'd looked at a little bit of the stuff on social media, but Trump's Pennsylvania town hall turns into impromptu concert after medical incidents. Donald Trump's town hall in Philadelphia suburbs turned into an impromptu concert Monday after the former president was twice interrupted by medical emergencies in the room. The Republican presidential nominee paused during a question and answer session as a doctor in the room attended to the first person to have a medical issue. After a second emergency halted the discussion moderated by South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. By the way, can we stop putting her out there on stuff? She's
yeah, no. Then on a side note, once you get through this, they're going to talk about some things Kristi did during this event that I'm like, oh.
I am all about the fighters. Suzanne and I are having a fun conversation on the text messages here about that. But
good, yeah.
Gosh, Kristi chooses to go some directions that are just bizarre to me.
And I felt for her, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Let you continue the story about what happened on stage. And then I felt for her, and I'll talk to you about some of the stuff, because I went back and I watched not the entire 40-minute dance party, but I watched probably 30-ish minutes of it. And I got to tell you some stuff I saw. But we'll talk about it in
different days. All right, Trump stopped taking questions after the second medical emergency. He and no mentioned it, and it was hot in the venue. Trump asked about air conditioning. By the way, that was something we were pointing out at the Gaylord.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow, it got hot in there.
Yeah, because it's science. It's human bodies. You put so many bodies into such a small space, and if you don't have any cross ventilation, then yeah, that's what happens.
They probably can't afford it, sir, in this economy, Noem quipped. During the first interruption, Trump asked Ave Maria to be played and was answered with an instrumental version of the song. During the second incident, he said he meant Italian opera singer Luciano Pavarotti's version of the song, and it was promptly tuned up. Could you imagine being that guy back there having to figure that out quick? Give me the song. No, not that one. The other one. Once Noem announced the second person was up and moving, Trump spoke for a few more minutes before calling for music to be played as many in the crowd lingered, unsure whether he was done speaking. Those two people who went down are patriots, Trump said after the music. We love them, and because of them, we ended up with some great music, right? Trump suggested they could wrap up the evening with the audience in their seats, enjoying some musical selections rather than hearing him answer more questions. He called for the Village People's YMCA. It blasted through the loudspeakers, the usual signal that Trump is done speaking and is ready to leave, but he remained on stage. By the way, that's what he went out to at the Gaylord.
Yes.
More music, more dancing. Nobody's leaving, Trump said. What's going on? More music played for roughly 40 minutes, and it didn't stop. Trump bopped and shimmied on stage to an eclectic playlist. You noticed that at the Gaylord.
Yeah, the
they
playlist
were
was like
everywhere.
The playlist was making me mad because of you're crashing genres into each other, and the beats are wrong. You're going from something that's like an 80 into like 110 into yeah. So and we don't need 3 Elton John songs. So I'm just looking at broadening the playlist. I like Elton John, but I'm just saying the playlist drives me nuts.
Many of his supporters made their way to the exit, but some stayed through the end. The scene was reminiscent of Trump's winters at Mar-a-Lago, his South Florida estate, where he likes to play DJ, hold court with the wealthy members of his private club. Finally, Trump left the stage as Memory from the musical Cats played. Caroline Leviat, Trump's national press secretary, published on social media site X a photo of Trump on the stage with DJ Trump. She wrote, Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung wrote on X that something very special is happening in Pennsylvania as the scene unfolded, adding Trump is unlike any politician in history, and it's great. So the idea that somehow Trump has lost his mind, that he just sways for 40 minutes, that people are confused about what's happening, to me, it comes down to and I've been on stage when we had a medical emergency. Yeah. And it's very awkward because you can't continue, because right down in front of me, I had a guy that tripped over a monitor and broke his collarbone or something. Yeah. And we had to bring in all of the EMTs, all of the medical, because it starts off as oh my gosh, what's happening? People don't really know what's going on. And then you got to bring in all the medical stuff. And it's not right to continue to do the show as if something hasn't taken place. You pause the show. I led prayer for the person that was there. And then we just played music. I didn't stand on stage.
Yeah.
We just played music. I walked back and we just played music until they were all done. Then we began the show. To have that happen twice, to have to deal with the interruptions and the fits and the starts and everybody hot. And then I think he thought that generally the show was over, but no one left. So there's confusion. But this idea that the narrative that the left is pushing out there, that somehow he's lost his mind, that he just stumbles on the stage and dances for 40 minutes, I don't think is fair. But
yeah,
that's my
point. Now, I guess the first thing I'm going to go back to, like the Christie Gnome. There were some things on there on stage. I'm like, oh, she's trying so hard. To me, she looked like the summer camp counselor that is trying to get the kids involved in whatever they're doing. And what I mean by that is, if you go back and you watch her during the music dance party, watch Trump, because what she tries to do over and over again is mirror him. And she's trying to get the crowd to do what Trump's doing. So you'll see her standing behind him by a couple of feet, and either to the right or the left, and he'll start doing something, and she'll start doing it, and she's looking at the crowd to start doing it as well. My favorite is when she did the jazz hands. There's something with her hands like this.
Did she?
Oh yeah, and Trump starts going like this. He has his hands palms, and again for our audience that is not joining us on the Twitters and the YouTubes and the Rumbles and stuff, palms forward like we're gonna give high fives, but fingers spread out. And Trump is kind of going left and right by about 45 degrees. So it's kind of like in a little sunshine wavy thing. And he's doing this during one of the songs. Christie gets right next to him, a couple of feet behind him, and does it too at the exact same time. She's trying to get the crowd involved, and then Trump drops it, and she keeps going for a second. She's like, oh, I guess we're dropping that right now. She does it over and over again, and she tries to mimic his body language. She also tries to engage him. For me, I think it's a little bit of both, because these were both fainting incidents. And I believe from what I was reading, by the time they got the second version of Ave Maria, which is the Pavarotti version that Trump demanded being played, that all of those people were taken care of. That's about the time that the second medical emergency was moved out of the hall. Oddly enough, I do appreciate, and he was mad about it, the first version of Ave Maria, if you go back and listen, that's Schubert's version. That's really good. That was really good. I caught that. I'm like, hey, they're playing Schubert. I'm like, oh, and then he disses it. And so I just think he could have gone back into the questions. And I'll tell you why it went on for so long. You didn't leave the stage. And what I mean by that is, what I mean by that is,
I think he thought that people were going to walk out, kind of like they did at the Gaylord.
Yeah, sort of. But he was sort of at that time leaving the stage as well, because here's the idea. It's concert behavior is, I love when you go to a concert and they have the encore, and they go off stage and you pretend to cheer to bring them back on, and they run out and they're like, you wouldn't let us leave. And you're like, you wouldn't turn on the lights. I can't leave because I can't see where I'm going. You turn on the lights, we leave. And that's the thing, is the cue wasn't there for the audience. As long as Donald Trump's on stage, the audience isn't going to necessarily go. So if he wanted to leave, and he did leave eventually, oddly enough, to Memory by Cats, weird choice. So weird. And so that's what he left with. So that would have been the cue for everybody else to go. But it seemed like it went on longer.
We're getting the music aficionados on our text message are asking some questions, Bill. Okay.
Oh, yeah. What do we got?
Was anything played by The Cure?
Nope, not at all. No.
All right.
I'm not even sure Donald Trump would recognize The Cure if he heard a song by them.
So here's another one from Gabe. How about Slayer, Pantera, Morbid Angle, or Meshuggah?
Oh, Meshuggah rocks. Dude, Gabe, high five, man. Deep cut. Meshuggah is awesome. They are fantastic. Oh, my Lord. Nicely done. Slayer is fantastic as well. But I don't think the crowd would know what to do with them. I don't think they have any idea. The other one would be, hey, Gabe, what about we bring a little Gojira? Do that. Or some Cannibal Corpse. That'd be interesting with that crowd. But now we're going into a deep, deep rabbit hole that nobody wants to join Gabe and I in. Nobody wants to get down there with us.
And you got to think about how many rallies this guy's done by now. He's done at least a few a day for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think at this point, dude, you want to get up there and have a little dance concert. You're up in the polls. Things are looking good. As I mentioned, it's second semester, senior year. You locked it up, have some fun. That doesn't bother me anymore. And to see the left try to make this something about his mental acuity is, come on.
But here's the thing, though, is could you then make the critique that, was he afraid of continuing to ask the questions? Does he not have it in him? Does he not have the stamina to answer the questions? And what I mean by that, and I'm being a little facetious with it because I believe he does, but I'm being facetious because I'm imagining that instead of on the stage there doing it, it's not Donald Trump, it's Kamala Harris or it's Tim Walz. The very first questions we would have from the Trump supporters are, Is she afraid? Is she not able to do this? Why can't she take the questions? Well, it's only the questions from her audience. Why can't she continue this? Yeah, it would be all those questions. And I think then that's fair to ask Donald Trump and supporters the same type of questions and have the same type of critique. Is it the sky is falling that the liberal made into? No, not at all. But it is weird. It is weird that given the opportunity, even at the end when he says, should we do one more question? And he goes, no, let's do one more song. He even prompts, and this is after the medical emergency, he prompts for another question, teases another question, looks for another question, and then decides no question.
Welcome to the last 3 weeks of a presidential campaign in a closely contested race where everything becomes a scandal.
And then the bottom of this is, it's all our fault. These are the people that we have, and it's all of our faults together. Oh, man.
Breadman asked him why no Hendrix is played.
That's
Greatest
a good point,
guitarist
man.
of all time.
He really should be playing some Hendrix. There's some classic rock ones. I'm surprised, honestly, in the playlist there's no Hendrix. I'm surprised there's no Fleetwood Mac. I would have given, based on his demographic and his age, Fleetwood Mac would sort of resonate with him. I'm surprised we have no REO Speedwagon in the playlist. I'm surprised there's no Foreigner. There's no Boston. There's a number of bands that I think he's missing out on that could really, and again, it would be his age range when he's growing up. That there are some certain songs and people there, that could be kind of cool. But I don't know why he doesn't have those.
Getting a text message, interesting one from Eric Manning. Breaking, he went to go deliver one of his burritos. He's famous for these burritos. Phone order. I'm not going to name the garage because I don't think it's fair. But he walks in there with his burrito, and in front of all of his customers, employees, the guy at the front desk says, "Take off your MAGA hat."
Oh, okay.
He told him, "Never. If I can't wear my MAGA hat in here, then don't be ordering any of my burritos again." Eric Manning, the great
that's
MAGA
fair.
Hero.
That's fair.
Look, want to talk to you about my friends Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Look, Dan is with us. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That matters. He's also the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to not just be great on values, but a real winner in the courtroom. The only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. They trust him. You can trust him. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. And you're probably saying to yourself, oh, he's just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Not true. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. How about Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac, Iggy asks.
Yeah, I think, again, for me, Fleetwood Mac should be in that playlist. Again, the demographic, who he's got there. Again, why we don't have REO Speedwagon, 30 Special, Survivor, Foreigner, Boston. I mean, there's a series from Kansas. There's some great stuff.
I would just, Kansas. Man, mine would just be Johnny Cash all
you could
day
do Cash
long.
too. You could do some Cash in there.
Man in Black.
It could be. The problem is when you play Hurt, do they think that that's his song or do they know it's a cover? That's the big question.
Is there anything Trump has done that hasn't been unweird and super normal? 2983. Gabe texts in. I was going to say Cannibal Corpse with Chris Barnes. My goodness. Death metal is becoming right wing. Just look at the ex-special forces and what they jam to. Tell Eric we love him. Gabe will take a burrito from Eric. Won't make him take off his MAGA hat. Dude, if that happened to me in a restaurant too, I probably wouldn't go back to that place either. All right. We'll get to the calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. About 1/3 of the surveillance cameras that are set up along the U.S.-Mexico border don't work. That's according to an internal Border Patrol memo that said the inoperable cameras are posing a, quote, significant impact on Border Patrol operations. Of the 500 cameras that are set up on towers along the border to help agents spot illegal migrants and traffickers coming into the country, about 150 are out of play, and it's not clear how long they've been down. The memo, obtained by NBC, said, quote, several technical problems and outdated equipment and repairs that need to be made are to blame. Last week, the Border Patrol Union in Laredo, Texas, told its members that they are also concerned that the cameras are causing serious officer safety issues. A Venezuelan gang member who police say was recruiting middle school kids in Houston has been arrested by Texas troopers. 32-year-old Jorgenis Robertson Cova came into the country illegally during the Biden-Harris administration, and according to police, has been recruiting the school-aged kids to join the violent Tren de Aragua gang. According to local media, people who live in the community are shocked and calling for an increased police presence. Governor Greg Abbott has launched a gang task force that operates across the state and is part of a crackdown on the violent prison gang. President Donald Trump had to give an economic lesson on tariffs to Bloomberg's editor-in-chief during the Economic Forum in Chicago. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. Having a fun conversation about the rally yesterday. It's the left flipped out about. Donald Trump hosted a rally. There were some medical emergencies. There's confusion as to whether or not they were going to continue. There's air conditioning issues. People were too hot. Trump's like, look, let's just call it off. I'll dance here until people leave. People didn't leave. They didn't know if they could leave. It went on. It was 40 minutes. Who knows what's going on? But to the left's argument that this is somehow a reflection of his mental acuity and he just stares off into nowhere, swaying to music instead of answering questions. Not true. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But welcome to the last 3 weeks of a presidential campaign where Kamala Harris having a teleprompter is a scandal.
Yes.
And Donald Trump swaying to music is a scandal. And everything's a scandal.
I know. Everything's a scandal. Everything has to be. And I'm getting, okay, this is just you and me talking and our listeners joining in. I am super tired of everybody looking for the October surprise. I am super tired of that. And you know why?
We have a surprise every week.
Because it's called a surprise. If you're looking for it and you're going to go, oh, there's the surprise over there. No, it's a surprise because it's unexpected. Now, nobody goes in and goes, I was expecting this surprise party from you today. It's no longer a surprise party. Yep. That's the issue, is as soon as you hear all these people going, is this going to be, or here comes the October surprise? No, because it would not be seen, because otherwise it can't be a surprise. But
I do not put it past the left, though, to get real desperate here in the closing weeks of the campaign. I think going back to 2016, they were confident. They locked it up. They had that swagger. They lost, promised that Trump could never be president again. Upon his election, immediately tried to impeach him, have done everything they can to disrupt him. And I wanted, it was like the day he got inaugurated. Some of the Democrats were saying, "Oh, we're going to."
I remember they talked about it. I remember they talked about it, but they didn't make the moves until.
I guarantee you, the day after the campaign, they started.
But that's the same thing. That's the same thing the Republicans did, though, with Biden, and the same thing there. I mean, they started the investigation into impeachment, inquiry fairly quickly. So same thing. I mean, that's the thing. Is it's they're playing politics.
Yeah. So, but with regards to the October surprise, it wouldn't put me past to see some desperation coming from the left a little bit. Let's go to Gary, Denver. Good morning, Gary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Nice.
Good morning. So I got my ballot, and I think Trump is going to win, and I'm going to vote for Trump. But I'm also for every other Senate and House race. I'm definitely going to vote for the Democrat, and this is the reason why. I'm pro gridlock. I want to put some sort of governor on what Trump will be able to accomplish. And yesterday he had a terrible day when he was in front of the Bloomberg group. He basically, by not answering questions, he demonstrated that he's unable to even think things through. He's so focused on his own opinions, he can't even consider things, and he's going to blow up the deficit. And I'm okay with that, because I'm willing to let your children pay for my short-term benefits in the long run. They're going to pay, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right with transferring my debt to young people. And as far as the little dance party he had, I can't wait to watch Saturday Night Live and what they'll do with that.
They will have fun about that.
I didn't think of
All
that
right,
one.
so divided government. Yes, divided government stops at least progressive ideas from being implemented. I guess it would also stop Republican ideas from being implemented. But with regards to the deficit, I understand your concern about Trump and the deficit, but with Kamala Harris in the presidency and maybe Democrats in control, there's no reasoning with them on deficit spending. Don't you trust Republicans in Congress and Senate to at least try to restrain? I mean, think about the Thomas Masseys, think about the Rand Pauls, to try to really fight some of the deficit spending that Trump may want to implement. And wouldn't it be better to have them there than Kamala Harris and Democrats?
I agree with you, Jeff. If Kamala gets in, I definitely want either the House or the Senate to be Republican so that there's gridlock. But the large majority of economists estimate that Kamala will increase the deficit by $3 trillion. Trump, it ranges from $8 trillion to $15 trillion.
Yeah, I saw the Wall Street Journal article. They surveyed 60 economists or 66 economists, and it was I thought it was 7 trillion on Trump, not all the way to 15 trillion.
That's
Look,
the upper end. The top end is 15.
I
on that
do.
one.
Look, it's a valid argument to make because when Trump was in office, deficits did not go down. They went back up his 4 years that were in there. But to me, again, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, I'm concerned about their spending. I think Republicans can at least challenge, if they're in the House and the Senate, the budget, and Trump would be more reasonable to negotiate with than Kamala Harris, from my perspective.
Well, I think if there's a gridlock, it'll be win-win, but Trump is going to win. So that's why I'm voting for Democrats for the Senate and the House.
Now, Gary and Jeff,
what if he doesn't win? Because I imagine you're a Colorado voter, right? So
yeah.
Let's say he doesn't win. And I don't know which congressional district you're in, but you voted against Gabe Evans or Lauren Boebert or Jeff Crank or John Fabricatori. And all of a sudden, Democrats now have control of the House and Senate as well.
I'm very confident that Trump's going to win. I think it's going to be a landslide, so I'm willing to take that risk.
Ooh, a landslide. Interesting, Gary. Might have to explore that in a second. Now, Jeff, Gary, I want to ask both of you, and maybe our listeners will still chime in as well. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. I want to get your reaction to the idea that we talk about one of the top 3 issues in the country being the economy. Yet, as we look at Donald Trump's plan and what's been evaluated by the poll, Wall Street Journal, the school that Trump went to, Wharton School of Business, and more out there have seen that the thing that Donald Trump's economic plan is going to do is make things more expensive for the average consumer and increase the deficit. If we are concerned about the direction of the economy, is that necessarily the winning message?
That argument's all wrapped up into tariffs. And if you look at the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal article, it's all based on that, right? So Donald Trump is likely going to deregulate. Donald Trump is likely going to lower corporate tax rates. So in many ways, on some elements, he's a traditional conservative. But on tariffs, that's where the economists all get wrapped up. But I'll be honest, the conversation we had yesterday on tariffs, some of the more compelling arguments were, look at the transfer of wealth that has taken place to places like China and Mexico as a result of our free trade practices. I think there's a fair critique that I'm interested in seeing under a Trump presidency, that the current policies we're doing is sending a lot of money to our adversaries, primarily China, not Mexico, but China. And there needs to be something to address it. But Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
There's a second component, and that is deportation of 10 million illegal.
That's right. That's right.
And that's going to reduce the labor force, and we're going to have to pay higher wages.
Also expensive to accomplish. Really expensive to accomplish.
Exactly. And the argument you made, Jeff, just doesn't make it. It may be true, but you haven't explained it enough and how it would affect our economy the way we've been talking about tariffs, tax cuts, deportation of labor. We can understand those, but whatever you just talked about, I don't even understand how that's going to impact
I think there's a fair critique, Gary, that the amount of illegal immigrants that we've brought into this country is placing a massive strain on our government services. Look at the city of Denver, right? So you get this argument that they're not going. Who else is going to do the jobs? We're going to have this big economic impact if the illegal immigrants leave the city of Denver. All right. Well, what about the $100 million we've had to spend on them? And now we're having to raise taxes to pay for Denver Health. We're having to raise sales taxes to cover the problems we're facing in the city of Denver. So I don't think it's intellectually honest to just run out there and go, well, we're going to have this big economic problem if we deport illegal immigrants, but we're not being honest about the big problems we're facing right now with them.
No, that's let me mention that the city of Denver has to have a balanced budget. They cannot have a deficit budget, and that's one other thing I wanted to mention. Mike Johnson is trying to pat himself on the back because he said, well, we only increased the budget 0.6%. But you know what? It had nothing to do with the decisions they made because they can't spend more than the taxes they collect.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Now, I want to go
I
back.
love that idea, but it still cost us $100 million to deal with 40,000 illegal immigrants in this city.
It is. I want to go back a little bit when, and Gary and Jeff, to get your reaction on this, when you were talking about the leaking of money that was getting sent out there to China.
The transfer of wealth to China.
And I'm assuming you're talking about a trade deficit. I'm assuming. So the idea of the imbalance in trade, as far as how much money and what we're spending to get stuff from China.
But China seems to be doing pretty well economically.
I know, but I'm just for the discussion, I'm outlining, you're talking about trade deficit, not like the idea of us supporting the war in Ukraine, not that type of idea. We're talking about,
dollars,
so we're talking about, the economic issue. Now, here's the thing, that under Trump's tariff policy, last time he was in, stuff became more expensive here in the U.S. And while there were some highlights for certain industries based on the tariffs, guess what didn't happen? And something that he promised was going to happen, that the trade deficit with China was going to shrink. It actually grew. By the end of Trump's presidency, the trade deficit with China was higher, yet he had his tariffs in place. And what that meant is we were still trading. We were just paying more for it. And that's part of why you saw things like John Deere looking at trying to produce tractors outside of America, in part because of the steel tariffs. They were talking about spending hundreds of billions of dollars extra to just produce these same tractors each and every year. And that's part of the consequences of some of these misguided plans. And even yesterday, when he was talking with Bloomberg, his analysis based on the economy and tariffs was backwards. And then when he was challenged on it, he made fun of the host, the MC, the guy that was interviewing him. Said, well, you've been wrong a lot. And it's like, wait, hang on here. He can be wrong all he wants, but it doesn't invalidate his question or his point. It was interesting. They took shots at Wall Street Journal too, which is weird.
Yeah, it made me think of when Trump said he's smarter than all the generals. Now he's smarter than all of the economists.
Yeah, exactly. And but again,
guys, what's wrong with critiquing where we're at right now? Because I would say where we're at with our trade deficits, with the amount of wealth that's been transferred to places like China, that's one of our enemies. The fact we can't build in this country, the manufacturing problems we have in this country. Yeah, and we're going to trust the 60 guys in the Wall Street Journal who have essentially put us in this position. Yeah, I think it's fair to critique it.
They didn't put us in this position, and it is fair to critique because the economists are not in charge of the economic policy. That's the people in the Wall Street Journal that were polled.
That's exactly what they're writing about. They're saying that the economic policies, if they change, are somehow the sky's going to fall.
Yeah, no, not that the sky's going to fall. They're just analyzing. That's their job. They're just analyzing what the impact is. And if we are concerned, and this is why it is germane to the conversation, if we are concerned about the money that is going to China, then we have a real world example of what Donald Trump was going to do. And it didn't accomplish your goal. If your goal is to lessen the money going to China in that way, we know for a fact what Donald Trump did not accomplish that goal.
I don't know.
Why would you then do it?
I'm looking at a factcheck.org trade deficit with China goods and services. And in 19 and 20, they went down.
I'll take a look. But overall, I believe it went up at that time. But I'll take a look.
It went up in 17 and 18, but it went down in 19, 20. But it was going like this. And then it went like that, and then we went back up, and now we're going back down. Go ahead, Gary.
You need to explain to me why a trade deficit with China, where we're sending more money to them than they're sending to us, impacts our economy. You need to explain that to me.
Yeah, they would with higher prices when we do tariffs. That's where it would. In fact, I'm not against trade deficits. In fact, I don't see a problem with them, but that was something that Trump was very mad about. He said he was going to reduce the trade deficit with China. Overall, I don't think it did go down, but I'll take a look. Last time I looked, I didn't think it was there, but yeah.
The other thing that happens in a trade war is then we export and sell a lot of things to overseas, Europe, China, the world. And when you get into a trade war, that's going to decline, which will hurt our economy as well.
It's a fair point, Gary. Appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Gary's line will be open 303-696-1971. The reason I'm intrigued in all this, and traditionally I'm opposed to tariffs because I see them like I see minimum wage, that this gets passed on to the consumer and it's essentially a de facto tax. The reason I'm intrigued is because I think we have problems, and I want to see how something different may solve our problems. The fact we don't build anything in this country, and we've got a ton of manufacturing right like 15 feet across the border in Mexico. Has that helped us? Has it helped us with jobs? What about our own deficit in this country? And what about the fact that China seems to be getting bigger and stronger, and they're one of our enemies? I don't like it. So does somebody else have different ideas? I'm willing to explore them. It's why I'm intrigued. But Bill, I'm also intrigued by Balance Well Space.
Yes. I'm going to visit my friends later today, Balance Well Space. Check them out at balancewellspace.com because they have made an amazing change in my life. What have they done? They've taken away my pain. As we get older, I always saw my grandparents, moving around and talking about their pain. It was kind of funny when you'd sit there, I'd sit there with the grandparents, and they'd get around with their friends, and it was all about, my bursitis, and this is hurting. And I thought that was just what you do when you get old, that you deal with pain. I didn't know until I met the team at Balance Well Space that your life doesn't have to be that way. My life is no longer that way. I was living my life daily in constant pain because of a fusing of 2 vertebrae in my back, because of a torn meniscus in my left knee, because of a broken left shoulder. I've got so many other things that are wrong with me as well. But the bottom line was, it was just a cascading series of pain, difficulty, and lack of movement. I was constricting what I was doing with my family and for myself because of the pain that I was in. I'm no longer doing that. I'm doing things I haven't been able to do in decades. In fact, right now, I'm dealing with a problem in my right knee, and my right knee is my good knee. My left knee, the one that has the torn meniscus, is my stronger knee right now because of something I did over the weekend. And it's all because of my friends at Balance Well Space. And I want them to change your life like they've changed mine. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. balancewellspace.com. They're brand new here into Colorado, in Denver. They've got new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2, and plenty of parking as well. It is a comprehensive medical team. It's integrative medicine. What does that mean? It means you stop by and you get chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, and more, all under one roof. Plus, they have a whole bunch of non-invasive, cutting-edge technologies that are simply have to be seen to be believed. This is all non-surgical. This is about using your body's ability to heal itself and their specialties and their magic machines. They've got one that's a Nexus machine. That's amazing. But I won't go down the road. We'll talk about that one later. And they can use these different therapies in order to heal and regenerate portions of your body. As we're talking right now, I'm regenerating part of the disc in my lower back, and I'm regenerating the meniscus in my knee. During our conversation right now, you go down and you talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, and the team. They ask you what hurts. They take the pictures, the x-rays, and they put together a custom medical plan just for you based on your pain and what you want to do. Then they go to work. And every couple of weeks, this is the cool part, they get back together. They talk to you and they talk to each other about your progress. They make adjustments based on where you are. That's something that is different compared to your current medical care. Your doctors may be fantastic, but guess what they're not doing? They're not talking about you. They're not getting on a Zoom call or nothing or going out for coffee and discussing where your medical care is. But at Balance Well Space, that is exactly the type of care and treatment that you are going to get. Experience the difference that integrative medicine can make in your life. Neuropathic care, regenerative care. It is simply amazing, but they can't change your life until you take the first step by going to balancewellspace.com and reaching out to them. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Let them make the same change in your life they made in mine. And do me a favor, when you call them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely does. Great to hear, Bill. We'll continue with your calls. 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Michael, Aurora, good morning.
Hey, morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, I was looking at the tariff thing. Because I've learned that too. I went to University of Delaware and I studied tariffs there and all that stuff too. And one thing I think that we're kind of missing is that, yes, when you put a tariff, that raises the price. We have to look at trade or the barter system and leverage. He's using it. If you use it one way, it raises the prices. If you use it as leverage and you say, listen, we're going to put a tariff. Well, then I'm going to raise my wine. You guys going to pay more. Then I'll raise it again. And then he says it's more and more. He raises it so much that nobody wants to buy their product. And then they're going, well, hey, please don't do that to me anymore. Well, then you come down with the price and you give us a proper price and then we'll do business with you. So in other words, he's using it to give a hint to them that we're not going to do business with you.
Yes,
I do think that there's a negotiating element taking place there.
I do think that you guys are at the negotiation. Here's the problem, Michael. Here's the problem with it, though, is that at the core, Trump doesn't understand who pays the tariff. He believes in his heart. No, he doesn't, Michael. He outlined this just yesterday. He outlined this just yesterday in Bloomberg. He believes the exporter pays the tariff. He doesn't believe that it raises prices on U.S. consumers. He doesn't believe the importer. He talks all the time about we took in billions of dollars from China because of my tariffs. No, China didn't pay a damn thing for the tariffs. It was all American importers and American consumers. That's the dangerous thing that I keep coming back to with Trump. He can negotiate, and this can be a negotiating plan, but he has tariffs 180 degrees backwards. I'm not going to go to a mechanic that is 180 degrees backwards.
Go ahead.
I don't think so. I think what he's doing with that is saying, listen, he's not, I'll agree with you in one area. He's not explaining what he's thinking, because what he's saying is how would you not know that? My gosh, I knew that, and I didn't go to Wharton School of Business. I was at Delaware, so I know that. But what he's doing is saying, listen, it would raise the price. It would raise the price, but he's saying he's not going to stop there. He's going to make it. And he even said this before when he was talking to France, Macron. He said, listen, I'm going to raise that price so much. He said it. I'm going to raise that price so much on your wine, nobody's going to want it.
But
and
he
then
still,
he said, please don't do that to us.
But he still thinks that France pays the export. They pay the
No,
tariffs. Yes,
he
it
knows-
is.
he
No,
knows
he
better than
doesn't.
that.
No, Michael, he doesn't. And that's the scary part. And that's why I keep pointing it out over and over again. I point it out because in all the conversations, he easily outlines he has no idea who pays the tariff. And that's the danger
to
inside
Michael's
of it.
point, if you elevate it so much to the point where nobody wants to pay it, then it becomes a negotiating technique, which is what I'm intrigued by. All right, we'll continue. Plus, in the next hour, Jared Polis calling the police on Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Councilwoman. What is going on here? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Let's get to work. And we have an entire hour dedicated to you for engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. So who is Jared Polis calling the police on? You may ask yourself.
He has no pictures of me and he can't prove anything.
It is
It's not me? No? Oh, sorry. Okay.
Could
Sorry.
it be the Venezuelan gangs that are terrorizing apartment complexes? Could it be the car thieves, the bank robbers, the human traffickers, or the cocaine dealers that are all running rampant in the state of Colorado? Or is it the at-large city councilwoman in Aurora named Danielle Jurinsky? You're never going to believe this story.
Oh, boy.
Gosh, and I was texting with Danielle yesterday. Got some interesting insight we'll share with you right after News and Comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Governor Polis, for keeping us all safe. We appreciate that. 51 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 81 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Kamala Khan will sit down for an exclusive interview with Fox News later today, set to air at 4 o'clock Denver time from Pennsylvania, a key battleground state, of course. DJT will also be on Fox News today. It airs in about 1 hour. This morning on Messy NBC, Joe Scarred by the Truth, spreading excrement.
Again, this is going to be a very close race. We're not going to know who's winning to the very end. But when you start seeing numbers, real numbers, like what's going on in Georgia, suddenly you feel like telling Democrats that are bitching and moaning about what the Harris campaign's doing, hey, calm down. You know what? Victory is in sight in less than 3 weeks. If you go out, work hard, and do your job. The opponent is imploding, and Harris is doing better than ever.
Okay, make sure you take as many people to the polls as soon as possible. Get it done. Once you hear Scarred by the Truth to get you fired up. FBI updates crime statistics showing the violent crime has increased, not decreased. DJT was fact-checked in the debate by David Smear on ABC.
Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities.
New data reveals violent crime increased in 2022 by 4.5%, not decreased like the left claimed. In 2022, there were 80,000 more violent crimes compared to 2021. According to the National Crime Victimization Survey, only about 45% of violent crimes and 30% of property crimes are reported to the police. There were nearly 1,700 more murders in 2022 than in 2021. If Trump wins, Mark Halperin tells Tucker it'll be a headache.
That's so traumatic that it is impossible for even the most mentally healthy person to truly process and incorporate into their daily life. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen for tens of millions of people, because they think that their fellow citizens supporting Trump is a sign of fundamental evil at the heart of their fellow citizens and of the nation. That's how they view it.
I agree. How about you, Jeff?
So the idea of brains breaking because Donald Trump gets elected or doesn't get elected, I mean, look, I'm going back to John McCain, Barack Obama, and just the level of rhetoric has just totally changed. Yeah, I mean,
remember the young lady screaming?
It used to be like inspirational, but yeah, their brains break, I guess. Huh?
No, remember that? Remember the famous video of the young lady who was screaming? She was on her knees, I think, and when Trump won. I mean, that's what's gonna happen. I talk to these people, man.
I wonder if we'll see something bigger than January 6th if Trump wins.
Maybe. And a lot of them will not be American citizens taking part in it. I promise you that. That's what I predict. But I hope it doesn't happen. Oh, all right. The Biden administration could restrict military assistance to Israel if the country doesn't improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza within the next month. That's according to a letter sent to Israel officials last weekend. Elon Musk gave nearly $75 million to pro-DJT group over the span of 3 months. That's according to the federal disclosures released on Tuesday, and the communist lefties hate it. The Musk-founded America PAC, which focuses on turning out voters in battleground states, spent almost $72 million in the mid-July-September period. Musk was the sole donor during that time period to the group. Frontier Airlines pilots have voted in favor of holding a strike if they can't get a favorable contract from the company. The union representing the pilots announced Tuesday that 97% of its membership took part in the strike authorization vote, which 99% of those pilots authorizing the strike. Game 3 of the NLCS set for tonight in New York. The Mets play host to the Dodgers. Game 3 of the ALCS, that is, will go down tomorrow in Cleveland after the Yankees took a 2-game lead over the Guardians last night. 48 in North Glen, 49 in Glendale, 51 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this hump day Wednesday morning.
I can't do any more interviews. I've only gotten more unlikable somehow. At this point, Hunter Biden has a better chance of winning.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Unseasonably warm for a couple more days, and you're going to notice the weather changing as we head into Friday and the weekend. Mid to upper 70s today, near 50 tonight, highs low to mid 70s tomorrow. Sunny to partly sunny today, a few more clouds on Thursday, also becoming a bit more breezy. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 60s and falling. Showers will be likely late Friday night into Saturday and colder. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, Jared Polis has finally gotten tough on crime.
Yes, finally.
He has drawn a line in the sand, and you will not step across that anymore. Yes. Polis refers Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky to the police.
Who? What? The person that he says is the danger is who?
Not the criminals taking over apartment complexes, not the car thieves, not the bank robbers, not the cocaine dealers, not the human traffickers. It's from the Denver
city council woman.
Yeah.
Really? That's the danger.
Governor Jared Polis' office has referred an Aurora City Councilwoman's comments to law enforcement after she used a public meeting this week to claim that she had, quote, video evidence of a crime that has haunted her to her core about Venezuelan gang activity in Aurora. I'm asking you, Governor, to put politics aside. I'm asking you to call me and to see the videos that I'm in possession of, because we need leadership, Jared, said Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, a Republican, at Monday night's city council meeting in Aurora. If you don't call me, the videos will come out. she said before cutting off her microphone.
Yeah.
Polis's office said Tuesday they have reported the remarks to state law enforcement and the Aurora Police Department, writing, if the city council member is holding on to evidence of a crime, she should reach out to law enforcement immediately. The governor's office takes any potential for evidence of a crime very seriously and has alerted state law enforcement of the councilwoman's comments about potential video evidence. And they have been in touch with the Aurora Police Department, said Polis spokesperson Shelby Wyman. Jurinski made the comments during a Monday city council meeting in which she successfully got a measure passed to determine whether the governor and the Denver mayor are sneaking new immigrants into Aurora. The council voted 6-2 to use city attorney powers to probe emails at the offices of the governor and Denver Mayor Mike Johnston to see whether the state and city were moving new immigrants to Aurora covertly. Jurinski's measure directs the Aurora City Attorney's Office to submit open records requests to Polis, Johnston, and their corresponding offices charged with dealing with the influx of new immigrants who have landed in the metro area in the past year and a half. Jurinski, who did not grant interviews Tuesday, said through a city spokesperson that open records requests could help unveil a conspiracy to relocate immigrants from Denver to Aurora. I believe that Governor Polis and Denver Mayor Mike Johnston conspired to sneak potentially thousands of migrants into our city using several nonprofits in the metro that ultimately put the safety of our citizens at risk, Jurinski said in an email statement from a city spokesperson. I think that it's incredibly insulting to think that Polis and Johnston could covertly push migrants into our city without even having the courtesy to warn us about what they were doing. This is something that's interesting. Billy, in many ways, Jared Polis and Mike Johnston have been put on the national stage.
Yes, they have.
Over these immigration policies. They seem to be pretty angry. There might be more to the story, especially if they're secretly shipping illegal immigrants into the city of Aurora. If you remember back in February, I found this video yesterday of Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinski saying, I'm not going to prioritize illegal immigrants over our own citizens. And so they declined to spend money from the Aurora City budget to serve illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, Denver was willing to spend money. And were they shipping them to Denver or to Aurora? Interesting, but calling the police. Now, Danielle did respond on X to a few of the accusations about what's going on with the video. Why haven't you put it out? She writes, once I can assure you that I will be able to protect and keep certain people alive, I will. And then she challenges Jared Polis to look at the video, and he calls the police. I get that obviously we want the police to be involved, but I don't know what's going on there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think again, I think Polis is being a little bit myopic and a little bit petty with this, because he does have a point that if these are serious crimes, then they need to and should be reported to the police immediately. But
it's hard for me to believe that Danielle wouldn't do that.
That's where I was going with that, is the idea that we have no information saying that, one, this information or anything didn't come from law enforcement, or that it has not been reported. It could be someone that is a constituent that has reported this particular crime that is on video to the local police, and then also turned around and went to Danielle and said, and that's where I believe that Polis is being petty about this. He's like, well, if you have this, then you need to show it to somebody and you need to show it to the police. He's making the assumption that she hasn't. She's just saying, listen, these are things that are going on. You don't believe they're going on, and I want to show you. I do, however, the only rock I would throw at Danielle is her saying, call me. You have to call me. I would say that if she is in possession of this, the affirmative move needs to be on her side. She needs to reach out to Polis's office and then come out afterwards and say, they're not talking to me about this. And I don't know if she has.
Instead of the first move being a public comment.
Yeah, first move being public comment and demanding that the person call you. That to me is not the right play. But again, I don't know. I have no information that leads me to believe that she has not reached out to Polis's office, and I have no information to say that she has. So I am not going to draw a conclusion on that. I'm just saying that if this is the first time that she mentions it and she reaches out, I believe it is stronger strategically for her to reach out to Polis's office first.
Yeah,
because
and
then
go, I have a list of emails, I have text messages, I have phone calls.
and then she can say, the office is ignoring me.
Right,
That's a stronger statement than you need to pay attention to me right now. But I think she's right about the issues that she's got.
2983 writes, arrest her. If a journalist has info about a crime, they can protect their sources in jail. That's how it works.
And there's part of that too.
Look, there's an argument being made from the conservative world that that the left is engaging in, I think it's called anarcho-tyranny, which is the left is perfectly willing to use all the powers of law enforcement and the judicial system to drop the hammer on their political opponents. I mean, really drop the hammer. Tina Peters, 9 years in prison type of stuff. Meanwhile, if you're a drug dealer, car thief, bank robber, well, we have lots of excuses as to why you do what you do, and we'll find ways to get you out. Here's what I asked Danielle Jurinsky. I asked her to come on the show, but she was on a plane this morning. I just said, do you have anything you'd like me to pass on to our listeners? She writes to me, the ball right now is in the governor's court to help the people of Aurora.
Interesting. And we'll see how this goes. I think the idea of Polis, though, coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to call the police on you and you've got this information. Again, he could have possibly checked with the Aurora police as well. I'm just saying he might have their phone number.
Or said, Danielle Jurinsky, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Let's coordinate with Aurora police to make sure that all of our citizens are taken care of.
Yeah. I mean, this is just they're two politicians
But
fighting in public.
I wonder how that FOIA report is going to go, and if Polis and Johnston feel embarrassed about what has happened, because Kyle Clark just wasn't able to cover this up well enough.
Yeah, and I
should fire your press boy, Mike Johnston.
And the other part is I'm curious about the idea of Denver taking the immigrants and placing them into Aurora, as far as how that was done, because we have seen that done in a number of cases, and that's what Danielle is talking about as well. And I'm curious about the idea of, is it illegal or not? I'm curious where that line is. I'm not saying it is legal or illegal. I'm just curious as far as what that law is that's broken. Would love to see that. But I do think, however, regardless of if it is legal or illegal, if these are immigrants and Denver's paying for them, they should stay within the proper boundaries of Denver. That's it. So that's because it's their problem.
You think these people are going to abide by boundaries?
No, the illegal, the immigrants aren't, but the politicians. And that's what I'm saying. The politicians should.
The open border politicians.
But the politicians should, if they're saying that it is our city that is taking care of it, then your city should be taking care of it. You shouldn't be taking these people and placing them into a different city and saying they're being taken care of over in this city, even if you're paying for it. You should be taking care of them in your city. If your city is the shining light, then your city should have the resources, and you shouldn't be taking them outside of the jurisdictional boundaries of Denver.
How great your city is doing as well, Mike Johnston.
Exactly, and that's where they should be taking care of.
Another business closes. All right,
we can't find an office building in downtown Denver that's somewhat empty to put these people in. I'm sorry.
Well done. Phone lines open 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text the Dankopolis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Look, you're losing your hair. You need a simple solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. Bill, did you hear this story, by the way?
What?
Of the transgender yacht killer.
Oh, yeah.
Serving
You said,
life
yeah.
sentence,
Yeah.
getting taxpayer-funded sex change
Yeah.
surgery.
Finally found one.
Thanks to Kamala Harris. There's actually a lot more than one.
Pseudo thanks to her, but yeah. I mean, it's not-
Originally, she opposed it,
Yeah.
and then she supported it.
Well, the thing is, she opposed it, and this is the thing is when we talk about the idea of, hey, Kamala supports this, but when she was in office as the AG, what did she do? She actually fought
changed
against
her
it.
position on it.
Well, no, she didn't change her position. What she did is she did the work of the state, and that's the thing is that, and I understand that the issue here, and we'll talk about it, but it's not necessarily the deep indictment of her being this very pro transgender as you might think so, and it may not be. It may not say that, hey, she's going to do this when she's in the presidency because of her actions there. But we can get into
When
it.
you hear how many people the state of California is paying sex changes for, it's going to shock you. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump had to give an economic lesson on tariffs to Bloomberg's editor-in-chief during the Economic Forum in Chicago. Trump even giving a real-time example of how his system is the best plan for the country. Watch.
It must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has announced that Texas National Guard engineers are busy at work in Eagle Pass, reinforcing the razor wire barriers that are set up along the banks of the Rio Grande River. Abbott recently started a 142-mile project starting in Brownsville, where troopers are setting up the CCC razor wire and anti-climb barrier along the U.S.-Texas border. Abbott saying that he will continue to protect the southern border and the nation from dangerous open border policies that have let tens of millions of unvetted illegal migrants into the country. A new poll by Gallup has revealed that the American public's trust in the mainstream media has hit a new all-time low. In fact, the report shows that the news media is trusted less than even Congress.
In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Transgender yacht killer serving life sentence gets taxpayer-funded sex surgery thanks to Kamala Harris. Killed my daughter. Son-in-law. Now he gets what he wants.
I'm sorry, this is awful, but it sounds like a Mad Libs headline. Sorry, it's just that is so wrong of me, but I just can't help it. I can't help it.
This coming from the free bacon.
See what I did to you? See what I did? All my fault.
And I'm on a diet, so you can tell where my mind is. This coming from the Free Beacon. Sitting on death row in 2009, John Jacobson Jr., known as the Yacht Killer, talked about murdering a married couple, Thomas and Jackie Hawks, to obtain the money for a sex change surgery. 5 years earlier, Jacobson had lured the Hawks onto their boat off the California coast, tied them to the vessel's anchor, and threw them overboard before grabbing a beer from the fridge and starting to fish. I wanted the surgery, and I knew 100% I wanted the surgery, Jacobson told ABC News. Last year, Jacobson's dream came true when California taxpayers footed the bill for his gender transition surgery, a move made possible thanks to policies and precedents set during Kamala Harris's time as state attorney general. I did receive gender-affirming surgery and breast augmentation on April 5th, 2023. Jacobson, who now goes by Skylar, wrote in a letter to the Washington Free Beacon. The letter was sent in response to a Free Beacon inquiry into the status of his transition. Jacobson said he is now awaiting transfer to a women's prison from San Quentin. Harris's support for inmates like Jacobson emerged as a campaign issue when a CNN report revealed that she pledged in a 2019 ACLU questionnaire to support taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries for illegal immigrants and prisoners in federal custody. But her history on this issue dates back to at least 2015 during her stint as Golden State's top cop, a period in which Harris has cited on the campaign trail as proof of her tough on crime approach. California began offering hormonal treatments for prisoners who claimed to be experiencing gender dysphoria before Harris was elected as California Attorney General. Jacobson started his hormone treatment in San Quentin in 2009, but the state's treatment of transgender inmates changed radically during her tenure. In 2015, Jeffrey Brian Noseworthy, who is serving a prison sentence for murder, sued the state's prison system to compel it to pay for sex change operations. A federal judge ordered the state to foot the bill for the surgery, arguing it was part of the medical care the Constitution requires states to provide prisoners. Harris initially oversaw the state's fight to block Noseworthy's access to that surgery, arguing that it wasn't medically necessary. When a district judge ruled against the state, Harris pledged to appeal to the Ninth Circuit, but the appeal never came. And then California Governor Jerry Brown allowed parole for Noseworthy's before the state had to cover the cost of his procedure. What I found interesting was, so she initially appeals it, fights against it, says it's not the role of the state to provide this. But then when she runs in 2019, she says this: I believe actually it may have been one of the very first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in the Department of Corrections, the policy being we're going to provide transgender surgeries. Harris continued. So you can just look at all the work I've done over the years. I feel very strongly about this. And at its core, it's an issue of humanity. So she feels very strongly about the state paying for sex change operations for prisoners. That's weird, man.
I think she
That's
feels
weird.
Well, see, I think she feels more strongly about the idea of the transition rather than the idea of this for prisoners. I understand her pushing for it, but in her role, and this is why I don't think it's necessarily the indictment that most people think it is, because given her what we heard about her position on it, when she was faced with a court case, she went and defended the state. She didn't let her, from what we've seen.
Originally, one time, but she didn't do the appeal.
I know, but we don't know on the time. And again, I'd have to go back and look at the time frame of the appeal, because what we do know afterwards, he was paroled. And there could be, and again, I don't know, but there could be a conversation with the governor's office saying, this dude is X number of years before parole. It's going to take us this many years to get this court case through the system. Do I need to spend the time and money doing this appeal when this person's going to be out before the surgery is ever going to be done in the first place? Is this the best way to spend California taxpayer dollars?
She supports this idea.
I know, but here's the idea:
and she supports taxpayer funding for it.
I know, but hang on. This is what I'm saying. It's not it may not be the indictment everybody thinks it is, because even though she may believe this, and this may be something core, and I will, just for the conversation here, I don't think it is. I think she's playing politics, but just for the conversation, I'll say this is something she believes as much as you and I believe in our Lord and Savior, that it is core to her being. Just for the conversation, I will concede that. But when she was in a position and she had to defend it, she defended the state against the thing she allegedly believes in her core. And what I'm saying by that is this assumption then that if she is in the White House, she is going to transgender all the prisoners and all of ours. It doesn't seem to hold true, because when she was doing her job.
Yeah, I don't think that's the critique, though. The critique is that she is just weird. The critique policy is priorities.
The critique is
that's what you're going to spend taxpayer dollars on?
No, but the critique is this is what's core to you and this is what you want. But we saw that even if it is, she still did do her job, and she defended the state against something she allegedly believes so strong in. And so you can't necessarily say then when she gets into the White House that she's going to go, woo, free surgeries for everybody, because that hasn't been played out. Well, and it was Gavin Newsom in California that signed the law. And if she's the AG, she has no role in the legislative process on this one. She doesn't get to cast a single vote in order to make sure this happens inside of the state of California.
So she did talk about those two cases when she first ran for president, apologizing for her initial opposition to Noseworthy's lawsuit and telling reporters she took, quote, full responsibility for the legal briefs her office had originally filed. I was, as you were rightly pointing out, the Attorney General of California for 2 terms, and I had a host of clients that I was obligated to defend and represent, and I couldn't fire my clients. And there are unfortunately situations that occurred where my clients took positions that were contrary to my beliefs.
Yeah.
Harris said, casting the blame on the state's Department of Corrections.
Yeah, which I would say is probably exactly what you want. Again, I'm not endorsing Kamala for president, but if we're talking about an executive, that's probably what you want. Someone that will look at it and say, this isn't about my feelings and my desires. This is about the larger situation that we are looking at and what is possible and what is not possible. And I still think that in that 2019, she's playing more politics than it's actually being core to what she's doing, because we don't see any of that post 2019. We don't see any of that when she's in the VP seat. She doesn't go out and have any sort of campaign. She doesn't do any sort of, there's no side project, again, because the VP is largely a worthless job more times than not, except for the chain of power and succession. Other than that, you have almost no power except you vote in the Senate.
I think it's core to her. I think it indicates she has backwards priorities. But listen to this part. This is what was shocking.
Yeah.
A 2015 feature on Jacobson in Orange Coast magazine found that as of that year, 385 transgender inmates are taking hormones. All but 22 of them are in men's prisons. That number of transgender or non-binary inmates in California prisons and jails was 1,617 in 2022. A 234% increase from 2017. The high number of California inmates requesting sex change surgeries has led the system to become backlogged. The state's projections estimate that 462 inmates would request sex change procedures in 2024, just in 1 year alone, even as its staff could only handle 3 requests per week. Holy cow, what is happening in the jails? And then, like this guy's case, this dude's being sent over to a women's prison.
Yeah, but that may or may not be an issue, because we don't.
How is it not an issue? It's a huge issue for the women in that prison.
Is it? Is he attracted to the women? Is he going to assault the women?
He's way stronger than the women.
No, but
even if he doesn't have his,
but we don't know.
Dingling.
Yeah, but again, unless he's going to get in fights with women, hang on a sec. But unless he gets in fights with women, it's not an issue. And you're assuming
it's an issue. It's privacy issue. It's violence issue. There's so much there.
You don't know how he's going to be housed, or nor do we have any of that information. And
to me, it's no different than locker room issues. There's an expectation of safety and privacy, and to have a dude, even if his dingling ain't there anymore, you have violence concerns and you have privacy concerns. This guy should not be in a female women's prison.
Well, here's the thing: is I think you're making an assumption that he is a violence risk, and we don't have any of that in
making the assumption he's a dude.
But again, a violence risk. And so the idea, and this is where I push back, the idea that just because you're a dude, you're going to be violent toward women. I don't come to that conclusion in any way, shape, or form, and we don't know what his history inside of the prison population was.
You're right about that, but we also don't put on the wall, you can go into a woman's restroom so long as you're not violent.
Well, here's the thing: is nothing stopping a guy from going into a women's restroom right now. There's no secret passcode. There's no magic bioscanner.
Right, but it's not allowed.
There's nothing preventing it, though, and that's the idea. So
I think the police can be called, can't they?
But I know, but hang on, police can be called if you can break in, and you can break into a house, or you can steal a car as well. But what I'm saying is the idea that because we have and this is something that I push back on a lot, the idea that because someone is transgender, they're now going to go into the bathroom and have the opportunity to assault someone. What I'm saying is that opportunity exists today, whether or not I am straight or gay or transgender or anything. There's nothing preventing someone that wants to assault a female in a bathroom from doing it now. The idea that just because they are transgendered, they're gifted this magical power to now enter the female restroom, I disagree. You and I, Jeff, could walk down and walk into the women's restroom here in the hallway right now.
And what would happen?
Depends on who's in there.
Right, but we would be probably yelled at and told to leave.
Yeah,
so
possibly.
To me, I'm not saying that every transgender is all of a sudden a violent criminal that's going to hurt people, but you have taken what is traditionally a safe place for women and said, because you identify that place that belongs to women can now be freely accessed by a guy, I think that move is wrong.
But it's still freely accessed. I mean, if we're
It's
talking
not,
bathrooms,
it's not freely accessed. No, it's
there's
not.
There's no lock on the door.
Right, but there's a social expectation of privacy.
That's a social expectation.
Right.
That's different than free access. Because free access
I don't
would
get
mean
that at all.
Because
but there's a social expectation here, and the social expectation is that women should have a right to privacy and to be safe. And we're saying because the guy simply identifies, you women have no more expectation of privacy and safety in there, and dudes should be allowed to use that space just as freely as you are.
Now, what I'm saying, and what I'm arguing against is the idea of free access. Anybody can walk into the women's restroom right now. That's the free access. It's not the idea.
I don't think that's the case.
No? You can't walk into the women's restroom right now?
No, I think I would be asked to leave.
No, but you could walk in. That's my point.
But you seem to be arguing a nuance about the fact you can cross a threshold.
Yes, that's
the
argument.
I am talking about the actual space should belong to women. Our society has said that space belongs to women. And you're like, well, you can technically cross a threshold. Yes, you can technically cross a threshold.
Yeah.
But you have now invaded a woman's space, and you've done so simply because you identify as a woman.
Well, the issue is, remember this, the issue is about safety. So the issue would be to prevent them from being assaulted. You're assuming the person walking in there that is transgender is going to assault them. Now, here's the thing.
It's one aspect of it.
I know, but you're assuming it. You're assuming it's going to happen.
It could happen.
It could,
and you're
but
putting
guess what?
Dudes in there.
But guess what could happen right now? It could happen right now as well. And this is the issue: is I don't think whether or not the person is actually transgender or not prevents anybody who wants to assault a woman from putting on a dress or putting on any costume and walking into a women's restroom. That's the issue that I have.
So,
now, here's the thing. Let me explore this for a second. And what I'm saying is, here's the idea, though. I'm not sitting here and saying that all women in all restrooms should have to accept transgender people walking in there. I'm not advocating for that. What I'm arguing is the free access. That access point exists. So saying that the assaults will happen because we now have transgenders, I disagree with. However, I 110% support women who say it's about the dude. Doesn't matter if the dude is presenting as a dude or presenting as a woman. It has to do with the fact of his dudeism. I'm just going to use that because that's what makes them unsafe. It has 0% to do with the idea of whether or not it is a straight guy, a transgender guy, or a gay guy. The issue is guy. And if that's where we want to draw the line, I'm okay with that. What I disagree with is the assumption that because they're transgender, now they commit the assault. There's nothing preventing anybody from committing the assault now.
Just because they become transgender, all of a sudden they're going to become violent. What I get hung up on is not the fact that, somebody else could walk into a female's restroom and beat them up too. We as a society, by allowing this, are giving men the permission to go into women's restrooms. That should not happen. And I want to go back to jail. The idea that there's 462 inmates in California right now, this year, who have requested sex change procedures, and then, like this guy, are allowed to be transferred to women's prisons? No way. Not in my book. I don't like it. Let's get to the phones here in just a second. Look, do you know that last year, over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took their initial listing? This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their own proprietary system and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting home sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in their service they provide and the results they'll get for you. They not only they're happy to cancel anytime at no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayasthebuyers.com, GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your calls. They're lighting up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Boy, oh boy, did we kick it off here in the final hour. Transgender yacht killer. Kamala Harris. What in the world? Let's go to the phone lines. Lewis, good morning, Lewis. You're on the
Good
Jeff
morning.
and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I think we got to flip it around there. Bill. There we go. Lewis, all right.
You. Good morning, brothers. Hey, 21 years I was with DOC here, and 7 of them in the women's prison. This guy may not survive a women's prison. Some of those women, I'm telling you.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I think about the violence going in the other direction.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, we got some tough women in this prison, and we also provide homo treatment here. And I disputed that with Morgan Carroll. You remember her? She was a state senator.
Yep.
And I said, why are we providing homo treatment for these people? Well, we got to take care of them. I said, what? You're out of your mind.
There is a question onto the state's role with that. It sounds like there is a Supreme Court or some court issue that you have to provide adequate health care, and they somehow interpret that to include hormonal treatment. But I don't think that's the role of the prison system.
No.
I don't know. Bill, do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm not sure it's the role either. I got difficulties with it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of surgeries, the fact that it's taxpayer funded, the complications it leads to with these prisons. But look, I want people to be safe, and Christians primarily. I'm thinking of who's the guy that worked for Richard Nixon that got arrested and then went to prison and became very passionate about the prisons. I'm totally forgetting his name right now.
Oh,
but Chuck Colson. Chuck Colson, great. Yes, Chuck reminded people that you need to be compassionate to people in prison because that's what the Bible actually tells us to do. So there's an element that says, I want everybody to be safe. But the idea of putting men in women's prisons and paying for the transgender surgeries, I just disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm not against the hormones as much. The surgeries for me is a little bit that, is this necessary? Is this something that, as far as their care, I would need to be convinced in more cases. I'm not sitting here saying, no, don't ever do the surgeries. It just seems to me, I'm curious about the qualifications and the justifications behind it.
Lewis, appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
You.
Look, you don't have to keep living with that joint pain. Real lasting relief is possible with the help from QC Kinetics. People here are getting their lives back, getting their mobility back thanks to QC Kinetics. They're the nation's leader in cellular therapies, revitalizing your joints. I'm talking about advanced regenerative medicine using your own body's healing properties, highly concentrated and carefully placed in your achy joints. Back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. You don't need to live with those. Check out QC Kinetics. Give them a call at 303-900-8986, 303-900-8986. Bill, you're going to a concert tonight. You're going to be up late, so tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow you've got a special guest. You've replaced me already.
Conservative Mama will be joining us. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Have fun tonight, Bill.
Thank you. This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.